what I was saying before is my life just took a 180 shift degree, 360 shift degree, and I lost 70 pounds. And what's really great is this month is my 10th anniversary of keeping my weight off. And because of that, I became a half marathon runner. And what prompted me to become a certified holistic health coach, the nurse came up to me, who was taking my blood test and said, "What the hell are you doing?" Kind of shocked me. And I said, well, I started taking a new program, okay? And so I told her that, and she says, whatever you're doing, your blood sugar and your cholesterol levels drop dramatically, even though they're in the normal range. Wow. So that prompted me to be passionate enough to become a certified holistic health coach and start sharing. So I am so grateful for having a connection with Ben. And he is here today. He is a compound pharmacist who actually has his own radio shows. On the bright side, he's on Coast to Coast Radio, and also does things with Critical Health News. And he's also an expert in health, fitness, nutrition, and skincare. You guys are going to love what he's going to do because he's so dynamic, and he's going to teach you about your body systems and what you can do with nutrients, and it's going to be a fabulous presentation. So, Ben, come on down. Hey, would you just put this on you?
Okay.
Like it's going to
but I don't know who you are. That doesn't seem fair.
My name's Leslie.
Hi, Leslie. Good to see you.
Well, that's going to be good enough.
You got that California look, Leslie. You're
From California.
Yeah, I can see.
There we go.
Thank you,
That's
Debi.
probably better.
Well, thank you. I do hate introductions. I always get so embarrassed. Oh my gosh. But you know what? It's sort of funny because I do this because I have to do this. You heard what Debi said. She lost 70 pounds. Rebecca, tell your story real quick. Just one sentence.
I've lost 100 pounds and 17 different poor health conditions.
Right? Wow. You guys, I hear this all the time. I have been hearing it all the time since I started in longevity. And that was 1998. Wow. So I could not live with myself. I couldn't look in the mirror if I didn't stand on every rooftop I could find, on every platform I can build, to spread this message that we don't have to be sick. Right. And we're not told this. Our medical model is not designed to keep us healthy. It's designed to keep us alive. Yes. Are you happy being just alive? No. And it's not the doctor's fault. That's not what they're trained to do. They're trained to keep you alive in a life-threatening situation. There's an old saying that nature abhors a vacuum. And we've created a vacuum in health. And the doctors and the medical model has filled that. And that vacuum is in our lifestyle choices and how it creates misery, health misery, physical misery. And what I want you all to understand, and this is my mission in life, is to share the idea that we have options. We have options to determine how well we will live and how long we will live. The medical model does not tell us we have options. Now, how many of you guys here are already in longevity? How many of you guys are guests, have never heard this message before? Okay, good. So, what you're going to hear today is a rebuke of the standard way that we take care of our health and what we can do as an alternative. So, real quickly, by way of introduction, I am a pharmacist by trade. I went to pharmacy school in 1986, and I graduated in 1986. And I was very troubled by the idea that we use poison to make the body better. It just never made sense to me. As a young 26-year-old athlete, which I was privy to the understanding that we could build our bodies using nutrition. So, on the one hand, in my private life, I was using nutrition to build my body, make myself stronger, to improve my performance. And on the other hand, I was learning that our main strategy, our primary modality for healing diseases, was poison. So it just didn't compute to me. It didn't make sense to me that we have this idea, this power in nutrition that was strong enough to build the body, and we have this healing modality that poisons the body. And really in pharmacy school, you study how to control poison. You study how to build poison that will take care of symptoms but not necessarily address diseases. So I was troubled. It didn't make sense to me. Additionally, in pharmacy school, this is something that people don't realize, pharmacists study nutrition. Except we don't study nutrition like a dietitian studies nutrition, or like a nutritionist studies nutrition, or like a doctor studies nutrition. We study nutrition like a pharmacist studies nutrition. So we study the medicinal properties of vitamins, the healing properties of minerals, the health-promoting properties of what we today call the mighty 90 essential nutrients. We study vitamin A as a treatment for eye disease. We study essential fatty acids as a treatment for skin disease. We study zinc as a treatment for acne. We study vitamin C as a treatment for arthritis. So I'm learning all of these ideas about nutrients, and on top of all that, by the way, we're studying diseases as nutritional deficiencies, and at the end of the day, all our health challenges, from the physical perspective, have a nutritional deficiency component, all of them. In fact, at the point of death, when we die, it's because cells are not getting nutriated. So not only do we break down, not only do we suffer disease states because of nutritional deficiencies, but at the end of the day, we die because of nutritional deficiencies. So I'm in pharmacy school studying poison. Poison is the main strategy for addressing health challenges. I'm studying diseases as nutritional deficiencies. I'm studying the medicinal properties of nutrients. I'm an athlete, and I'm working with nutrients in my own athletic, to improve my own athletic performance. So to me, it was just a no-brainer to shift into using nutrients as healing modalities, because my mission was to heal the body, help people heal their bodies, help people get healthy. And when I graduated pharmacy school and went out to work in drugstores, because my background was nutrients, or not my background, but I had an understanding of nutrition, I started suggesting people in the pharmacy, when they would come in with their prescriptions, I would suggest that they would use nutrition. So they come in for their beta blocker, and I would say, you know what, magnesium is a natural beta blocker. Or I'm sorry, the calcium channel blocker. They say magnesium is a natural calcium channel blocker. Or they come from a beta blocker, and I say maybe you want some vitamin C with that beta blocker because that's really good for your heart. Or they come in for an antibiotic for acne. A kid would come in for an antibiotic for acne, and I'd say, why don't you take some zinc, because you know zinc is really important for acne. In fact, zinc deficiency can actually cause acne. And I would start suggesting to people, this is 1986, mind you, and there were no health food stores everywhere, and it was kind of weird to have a pharmacist suggesting nutritional supplementation. But lo and behold, people started to improve, and they started to notice results, which didn't surprise me, but surprised them because nobody was telling them any of these things. So I was 26 years old. I started to get a little cocky. And so when people would come in with their prescription, I would say, instead of taking that magnesium with your calcium channel blocker, I'd say, why don't you take that magnesium instead of your calcium channel blocker? Or why don't you take that vitamin C instead of your arthritis medicine, of your ibuprofen or your naproxen? Or why don't you take that zinc instead of your antibiotic? Well, I was working at Kmart at the time, and needless to say, Kmart Pharmacy wasn't thrilled with Pharmacist Ben. And so sure enough, I told this story so many times, but I love this story. My district manager one day comes back into the pharmacy, and with the security guy, never a good thing. And he says, Ben, you're just not cut out to be Kmart material. Just like that. And I was gone, unceremoniously walked out of Kmart, never to return. So you know what I did? I started my own darn pharmacy. Right. I started a pharmacy that was dedicated to nutrition and nutritional supplementation. And because my background is skincare, which some of you may know, I started a skincare pharmacy where all the pharmacist did, who's me, was make skincare products and use nutritional supplements to help people with their health challenges. And sure enough, people started to get better in a way that drugs could not do, because drugs don't make anybody better. They can't. It's not in their wheelhouse. A drug's skill set is not to make us better. A drug's skill set is to hide the symptoms. Now, in fairness, sometimes you want to hide the symptoms. But you don't want to hide the symptoms and believe that you're taking care of your body or addressing your health. Let me say this again, because this is really important for anybody on drugs. There is not a single drug on planet Earth that can heal the body. In fact, there's not a single drug on planet Earth that's not a poison. And this is not just me talking rhetorically. It's by definition a poison in the sense that you have a poison control system that's housed in your liver and partially involves your gallbladder and bile and the intestine. And this poison control system is designed through evolution to detoxify poisons. This is how drugs are treated. They're treated as poisons by the body. They enter into the poison detoxification system. And what makes this even more insidious, first of all, can you see how ridiculous it is that we're taking a poison to make us better? Mm-hmm. But to make it even more insidious, the poison control system in the liver and the intestine, and to a certain extent in the gallbladder and the bile, requires nutrition. So when you take your beta blocker for your heart, your liver uses vitamin C to detoxify the beta blocker, and now you're deficient in vitamin C, which is important for your heart. Do you see the convoluted logic here? So not only is your body confronted with a poison that it has to deal with, but now it has to use its precious resources to detoxify the poison, the resources of which are important for dealing with the problem for reals. And these don't show up as side effects, people. So if you take a drug, you look at the package insert, and the doctor never wants you to see that package insert, but you should always be looking at the package insert. You should ask the pharmacist, if anybody's on medicine, or you know anybody on medicine, get what's called a package insert, and go through it. And the package insert is directions and chemistry and information from the manufacturer of the drug that by law has to be in every bottle that the pharmacist sells. You should see it if you're on a prescription drug. The package insert has a list of something called adverse reactions and side effects. A long list of adverse reactions and side effects. A scary list of adverse reactions and side effects. You know the commercials, and by the way, have you noticed how many drug commercials are out there? The profit margins on drugs are ungodly. It's the most profit margin intense business on the planet. More than oil, more than fossil fuels, more than energy, more than anything, it's prescription drugs. Will cost pennies per 100 bottle. Per 100 pill bottle goes for thousands of dollars to the end user, especially the newfangled ones. So anyway, you get the package insert, you see adverse reactions, you see side effects, some of which are hideous. But what I'm talking about here is not going to be on the package insert. Your deficiencies that are caused by the body's need to detoxify that poison don't show up on the package insert. So the vitamin C deficiency that you're suffering from your beta blocker or your calcium channel blocker or your steroid medicine or whatever it is, that's going to lead to a whole slew of other health challenges that's not going to show up as a side effect and will shorten your life. Do you see the problem here, people? But it doesn't matter because we have alternatives. We have choices, but we have to understand how this whole thing is put together, and we don't. And if it was up to me when we had education as kids, we would learn how our bodies work. Most people can figure out their microwave ovens and their VCRs and their computers and their car engine more than they can figure out what their pancreas does or their gallbladder does. And if we don't know what our gallbladder does, when some doctor says you don't need that silly little thing, you're going to say take it out. That's okay. When we don't understand how our bodies work, we will do whatever we're told. Yeah. And when I hear people being cut apart like a Christmas turkey with their organs just removed, and then they come to me for help, it brings tears to my eyes. We lose 1 million gallbladders a year, nearly 1 million thyroids a year. How many women have their reproductive organs taken out because the doctor says you don't need them anymore? There's nothing in your body that you can say you don't need anymore. There's no extras, there's no spares. But the problem is we don't understand how the whole thing is put together and we're intimidated. Well, what medical school did you go to, Mrs. Jones? Oh, was that Dr. Google you heard that from? The condescending nature that the medical practitioners have towards lay people intimidates us. But you know what? We don't need to be intimidated because it's not that hard. One of the jobs of a pharmacist is to simplify things, and we take that very seriously in pharmacy school. The Gallup poll has a poll every year. The most trusted profession every year is the pharmacist. Why? Because we're entrusted to take very complex information and simplify it. And so when you think about it, who do you go to when you have questions about your medicine or your vitamins or a health challenge? Probably you're going to go to the pharmacist because that's what we get trained to do, is to take complex information about chemistry and about medicine and make it easy to understand. And we take that role very seriously. And that's what I do. I take information about the body and information about chemistry, which I absolutely love. And when I first understood biochemistry and all the chemistry that's happening in our body, as we're sitting here still in this room, there's trillions and trillions and zillions and quadrillions and, I don't even know the numbers. There's no words for the numbers of chemistry that's happening, chemical reactions that are happening parallel and simultaneously in every single cell of your body, which you have 100 trillion of. 100 trillion cells in the body, and each one is performing hundreds of thousands of chemical reactions per second as you're sitting here. What the? Whoa, what? What? Are you kidding me? The immensity, the vastness of the biochemical nature, the biological nature of our body should put us all on our knees praising God every moment. The gratitude we should have, even if we're dying in cancer, the thousands and thousands and zillions of things that are going right to the moment you die, going right. And we don't ever acknowledge the majesty, the grandness, the divinity, the power, the spirituality that is in the human body. We never acknowledge it. I'm in the skin business, and let me tell you something. I'm in love with this thing because the healing properties of the skin are so self-evident. Every time you cut yourself, 2 days later, it's gone. What happened? How did this happen? But do we ever thank our skin? Do we ever talk to our skin? No. We look in the mirror and go, what the hell was that? Right? Where did that come from? That's the only time we talk to our skin. The only time we talk to our intestine is, what's going on? What's wrong? The only time we talk to our bodies is when something's going wrong. Do you know just talking to your body will activate healing chemistry? Just talking to your intestine. Just thanking your heart. Just being grateful for a skin that can resist disease and that can heal itself. How many times do we ever do that? How many times have we even thought to do that? I broke my leg a few years ago, and as they were wheeling me out of the emergency room, or out of the operating room, I could feel my leg was so sad. I could feel the sadness in my leg. And I started talking to my leg. And I started really giving it love and giving it attention. Do you know what happens when you give your body love and when you give your body attention? You activate what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, which we're going to talk about here in a moment, which is responsible for all the healing. We do not acknowledge our bodies and we suffer for it. And we don't acknowledge our bodies because we don't understand our bodies. So what we're going to talk today is very simply how our body is put together, how its healing properties are not leveraged and taken advantage of simply through lifestyle choices, and how we can do that, not only with nutrition, but with other healing modalities. Nutrition's not the only one, although we're going to focus on nutrition. Before I even start with this talk, I have to say one very, very important thing. There are 4 dimensions to health and wellness. And I don't want to be the kind of nutritionist that just says, take this vitamin and all will be good, because you have to address all 4 dimensions of health and wellness. And those 4 dimensions of health and wellness are what I call SMEP: spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. 4 dimensions, and they all have to be addressed. And while we're going to talk mostly here today about the physical dimension, please understand that if you're not feeling as good as you should, or God forbid if you have some kind of degenerative long-term health challenge, or if you know somebody who does, a friend or a loved one, that it's not only physical. It starts off spiritual in the sense, non-denominational, by the way. This is not religious. This is about spirituality. And spirituality to me means our understanding that we are connected to everything. There's no disconnection. It's all one thing. And just because we don't see it with our visual eyes doesn't mean it's not true, because we know every time I breathe out, you breathe in. So right now, all of you are breathing in atoms that I just breathed out. In fact, you're all breathing in atoms that Jesus Christ breathed out, that the Buddha breathed out, that Benjamin Franklin breathed out, because it's all in the air. We're all connected. As I'm standing here, there's energy coming off of me and it's coming off of you, and we're meeting in the middle. We're one big energy ball. Bacteria are coming off of my skin and your skin and your skin and your skin. We're one big bacterial ball. Every time I see something, it's happening in my brain. So I'm seeing you here and you're seeing me there. It's all connected. There's no disconnection. You see, what happens when we feel disconnected is we activate emergency energy. If you look in the dictionary under phobias, you'll see thousands of different phobias. Phobias are fears, right? There's fear of heights. There's fear of crowds. There's fear of death. There's fear of public speaking. In fact, that's the number one fear, believe it or not. Fear of death is second. Most people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. Right? There's fear of peanut butter getting stuck in the roof of your mouth. Yes, that's a real fear. There's fear of spiders. There's zillions of fears. But you know what? There's only really one fear that all of these different fears have in common. And that is the fear of the unknown. That's why we're afraid of spiders. That's why we're afraid of heights. That's why we're afraid of public speaking. That's why we're afraid of death. That's why we're afraid of all the things we're afraid of, because we don't know what's going to happen. When we don't know what's going to happen, our body goes into an emergency mode of processing information. When we don't know what's going to happen. One of the greatest gifts a salesperson can give, one of the greatest gifts you longevity distributors can give. How many people are longevity distributors actually distributing the product and have a business? One of the greatest gifts we can give people is the gift of certainty. The gift of the known. Because when you don't know what's next, when you don't know what's outside of you, and this is what disconnection does. It's when you're disconnected, you don't know. You don't know what the other person's going to do. You know, do you ever notice how when you meet somebody at a party, you meet somebody at an event, they'll tell you their name, and then 1 second later, you forgot their name. You're not that forgetful. You couldn't survive if you were that forgetful. You forgot 1 second later. What happens? Why do we forget people's names? Because you see, when you meet somebody at a party, and they tell you their name, you're not thinking about their name. You're thinking, is that person safe? That's what's going through your head. Is that person safe? You've activated what's called the fear nervous system. See, you have two nervous systems. You got a fear nervous system, you got a relaxation nervous system. When you're in the fear nervous system, you don't think clearly. You don't remember things. You don't learn. So somebody tell your name, you're in the fear nervous system, all of a sudden you just forgot their name because you're trying to determine if they're going to kill you or not. Right? Ladies understand this very well. Yes. Right? When you see a guy, what's the first thing you're thinking, ladies? Is he safe? Is he safe? That's the first thing they're thinking, because statistically speaking, we're the worst thing that could ever happen to you. Right? Throughout history. Throughout history. Okay? So when a woman sees a man, she's not thinking his name, she's thinking, is that guy safe? We all do it to a certain extent. Women are much more in tune with that. So first and foremost, we have to understand that we're all connected in the world. So we are inherently safe in the world. We're going to talk about the importance of this safety nervous system here in a moment, because it really is the foundation of health and wellness, this understanding of the connection, of the relationship between safety and thrival, or survival and thrival. Or actually, if you want to be, how many of you guys have ever heard of Course in Miracles? Anybody ever heard of Course in Miracles? Oh, good, okay. So Course in Miracles tells us, and this is basic psychology too, is that there are two primal emotions, only two. And all our emotions are derivatives of these two primal emotions, and that's fear and love. Fear and love are manifested in the body through the nervous system, and we'll talk about that here in a minute, because love activates all the good things, fear activates all the scary things. So the spirituality that I'm talking about, the first dimension of health and wellness, involves this idea that we're safe in the world inherently. We are inherently safe in the world. And whether our physical body dies or not, there's a part of us that will go on. There's a part of us that observes our physical body, and that's the part that we call spiritual. So I'm not going to belabor that point except to say we have to understand that we are inherently safe in the world because we're all connected. There's a sense of connection that is built into our physical bodies simply by virtue of our breath, or by our eyesight, or by the bacteria or the energy that's coming off of our body. So spirituality means you're safe in the world. You're safe in the world because you're connected in the world. We're all one thing here, without getting to be too dramatic or woo-woo. I am from Boulder, by the way. And in California, I don't have to worry too much about being woo, I have to say. So secondly, the second dimension is the mental dimension, and the mental dimension and the emotional dimension, the second and third dimensions and the four dimensions of health and wellness are connected. Every time you think a thought, there's an emotion. In fact, emotions are a type of thought. An emotion is the relationship between the mind and the body. Here's something really cool for you. Do you know that all of your emotions are derived from an interpretation in your body. An interpretation of a somatic sensation. Hi there. No problem. Do you want to sit? There you go. When you have a lousy feeling, say anger. Say somebody makes you angry. All that really is an interpretation of a bodily sensation. All our emotions are bodily sensations first, and then they trigger a thought. So if you have a lousy emotion, you have lousy thoughts. And if you have lousy thoughts, you're going to have lousy emotions. And by lousy, I mean lousy emotions and thoughts that activate the fear nervous system. Because it all comes down to fear and love. And all our emotions are either emotions of fear or they're emotions of love. And by love, I'm talking about the opposite of fear. Fear is separation. Fear is the sense that we're separated. We're out from the outside world. That there's an outside and there's an inside, and we know that that's not true except from an illusory perspective because it seems that way. By the way, what does fear stand for? False evidence appearing real. It's the illusion. It's the lie. Love is the connected force. It's everything. It's gravity, the attractive force. When you love something, you're pulling it in. When you love your body, you're recognizing your body. You're pulling yourself to your body. Love is pulling things together. Fear is separation. If you want to get religious, Jesus represents love and Satan represents separation, fear, the father of lies, right? Jesus is the attractive force. He is about love. It's about pulling things together. And that's from a religious perspective. But we're not here to talk about religion. We're not here to talk about mental and emotional. We're not here to talk about spiritual, although they're all related. We're here to talk about physical. So how does all this relate to physical? Well, it relates to physical via the part of our body that interprets the world. The part of our body that interprets the sights and the sounds and the smells and the touches and the tastes. What's the part of the body that detects the world? It's called the nervous system. And the nervous system has satellites. The nervous system, which is, technically speaking, your brain and your spine, is in the dark. It doesn't know what's happening, right? Your brain doesn't know what's happening. It's locked into a dark skull. It doesn't know anything. Your spine, which is the rest of what they call the central nervous system, is in this inside your body. It has no connection. It doesn't know what's going on outside, but luckily it has satellites. It has periscopes into the environment. The periscopes are your eyes and your nose and your ears and your sensations, the nerves in your skin and in your tongue. We call those your senses. The senses are the way the nervous system interprets the environment. So far, so good? Remember, we're not here to talk spiritual, mental, and emotional. We're here to talk physical, but it's all connected. So the nervous system interprets the environment, says what's going on in the world through the senses, the eyes and the nose and the ears and the skin and the tongue. But here's the thing. You have two nervous systems. Two. Yes, two. Leslie says two. Yes. Are you a health professional? Or are you anything like that?
No, I'm just a newbie here.
Okay, good. All right, fair enough. Okay, I like newbies.
Right.
Are you a health coach? Good. That's awesome. Okay, so Leslie, you have two nervous systems for your patients, I guess you call them, or your clients. You have two nervous systems. See, you have a nervous system that detects emergencies, danger, threats. And you have a nervous system that detects everything that's right in the world, all the good stuff. The nervous system that detects danger is called your, anybody know? Say it louder. It's called your sympathetic nervous. Was that you? Who said that? You. It's called your sympathetic nervous system. That's exactly right. Your sympathetic nervous system detects danger. And when your sympathetic nervous system detects danger, and we're going to use a lion as an example of our dangers, because from an evolutionary perspective, that was the main danger, was lions and tigers and bears and animals that wanted to eat us. Today, it's our credit card bills and our bosses and our dysfunctional families, right? But it's still, to the body, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Your dysfunctional family is like a lion to the sympathetic nervous system. And this is not a joke. This is a serious problem. And well, as you'll see here in a moment. You see, when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, all the blood is rerouted from the front of your brain, where you make really good decisions, to the back of your brain, where you fight or flight. When your sympathetic nervous system, your emergency nervous system is activated, your blood pressure will rise, so you get more blood squirting to all the organs. When your emergency sympathetic nervous system is activated, your immune system will become suppressed because you don't need an immune system when you're running from a tiger. When your sympathetic nervous system is activated, your digestive system will shut down because you're not supposed to stop and eat lunch when you're running from a tiger. When your emergency nervous system is kicking in, your growth and repair systems will shut down because you don't need to grow and repair. You're trying to run from a tiger or a lion. When your sympathetic nervous system is activated, you will not be able to sleep because you're not supposed to fall asleep when a lion's chasing you. When your sympathetic nervous system is activated long term, you will have anxiety issues, you will have panic issues. When your sympathetic nervous system is activated for a long period of time, none of your thrival systems, your growth and repair systems, your disease-fighting systems will kick in. Does this sound familiar to people? Do you understand why this is all connected to spiritual, mental, and emotional and physical? We're living in emergency mode. We're living in a condition where everything is threatening. Do you guys watch the news? The news is specifically designed to activate the sympathetic nervous system, to shut down your immunity, to shut down your digestion, to shut down your bowels, to keep your ability to recover and grow suppressed, to keep you sick.
Wow.
Yes, wow, exactly. We've created a world where we're running on emergency energy. And it's costing us joie de vivre, quality of life, love. We're running our whole lives on fear.
Yes.
And what is fear? False evidence appearing real. We're running our lives on a lie. When we are active, when we live our lives out of a sympathetic nervous system perspective, from a nervous system perspective or a mental and emotional perspective or a spiritual perspective, we're not going to even want to be alive. And this is the condition many of us are in. We don't even want to be alive. Suicide rates are through the roof. Do you know this?
Yes.
And that doesn't include slow suicide, through alcoholism, or through drugs, drug addiction. Do you know one of the biggest problems we have in drugs today is opioid epidemic? Do you know why we have an opioid epidemic? Because people are in pain, not physical pain, existential pain, the pain of existence, because we're living our lives like it's an emergency. Of course it's going to be painful. Of course we have insomnia, an insomnia epidemic. Have you seen how many mattress commercials there are out there? Oh my God. Oh my God. Every day there's a new mattress that comes out. Right. Pillows and mattresses and sleep formulas because nobody can sleep. Because we're running our lives as if we're running from a tiger. Of course we can't sleep. So learning to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is critical to understand if you're going to maintain your health. And you will feel better the instant you do this. I was talking to Bill. Thank you, Bill, for your work here. Bill works with prana. One of the most powerful manifestations of prana is the energy in the world. Our body runs on prana. Everything runs on prana. The physical manifestation, correct me if I'm wrong, for prana is the air we breathe. That's the physical manifestation. And it's no accident that when you breathe, you're inspiring. Inspiring. Spirit is coming into your body. This is what prana is about. And in fact, one of the fastest ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system is known as your fight or flight nervous system, right? The parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest nervous system. Would you rather fight and flee or rest and digest? Right? So, one of the fastest ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is something you could do in a second. And as soon as you do it, you'll digest your food better, you'll grow and repair more efficiently, your immune system will be much stronger and much more vital, your skin will become more beautiful, your thyroid will work more effectively. One of the fastest ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system so you can enjoy all these wonderful benefits is to do something that nobody does anywhere near enough of or correctly, which is breathe. Breathe. Activating the parasympathetic nervous system is activated by breath. when you breathe, and especially activated by exhalation. Not the inhalation, the exhalation. Obviously the inhalation is important, but the exhalation is the relaxing part. It's like if if somebody has a surprise party for you, and you walk in the door and they go, surprise! You go, oh, like that, right? And then you see it's all a big joke or it's a party, you go, ah. Sympathetic, parasympathetic. In fact, if you want to activate the parasympathetic right now, just sigh. People do it automatically. Just sighing activates the parasympathetic. You can feel your whole body relax. Most of us go through our lives like that, contracted. Contraction. Do you ever notice how when you're merging onto the 405, some wicked highway, right? Do you ever notice this? You probably haven't noticed it, but notice it next time. Your body contracts a little bit. Your toes will contract. Your fingers will contract just a little tiny bit. Think about something you don't like right now. Don't tell anybody. Just think about it for a second. Just feel the contraction? This happens all day. This happens every day. This happens our whole lives. We learn to contract. Many of us are walking around with little pockets of contraction from when we were children, from when we were babies sometimes. We have little pockets of contraction. Any massage therapists in this room? No? Any massage therapists? Massage therapists, have you ever noticed sometimes when you rub somebody or massage somebody, they'll cry, right? What is that guy? They're crying. So they will cry on the massage table because you're releasing these pockets of trapped energy that have been trapped from somebody's childhood trauma from 60, 70 years ago perhaps. Massage therapists all know this. We hold this trapped energy in our body, and all this trapped energy represents pockets of death. Literally, pockets of death. Little areas in the body that are not getting oxygenated, that are not getting fed, that are not getting detoxified. And as we're going to find out here in a moment, those are the three things that go wrong with the cell to induce cell death, is starvation, suffocation, intoxication, and these little pockets of contraction lead to that. So learning to release these little pockets of contraction through breathing, through massage, through muscle relaxation will add years to your life, will drop your blood pressure, will support your immune system, will keep your skin looking more beautiful, will help you digest your food more effectively simply by activating the rest and digest nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. That's just one of 1,000 different things you could do to feel better and add years to your life. Did the doctor writing a prescription for your high blood pressure ever tell you that? No. But the high blood pressure that you have is the end result of a body that thinks it's in an emergency. It's running from a saber-toothed tiger or a lion or whatever the emergency the body thinks it's having from an evolutionary perspective. So learning to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is critical. There's lots of ways to do it. Breath is just the easiest, or one of the easiest. For you guys who can't, you know there's some people who don't know how to breathe, by the way. And there's some people who can't even understand how to breathe. When you breathe, you always want to breathe in through your nose, ideally out through your nose or out through your mouth, but definitely in through the nose, because when you breathe in through the nose, you activate a complex of nerves in the top of your head, right above the bridge of your nose, that has a relaxing effect on the nervous system. You don't get that when you breathe through the mouth. When you breathe through the mouth, you get a lot more oxygen, but you don't activate the relaxation response. So nose breathing is critical, and that's very easy to do, but some people can't do that. And by the way, when I say breathing, there's three components to a good breath, a good parasympathetic activating breath. Are we clear on what the sympathetic nervous system is versus the parasympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight versus rest and digest? So activating the parasympathetic nervous system is critical, and breathing is a way to do it, but some people don't even know how to breathe. Sometimes you'll try to tell people and they won't understand. They won't have enough body awareness to understand how to breathe correctly. When you're breathing correctly, there's three functions. There's three aspects. I call it SDR breathing. You want your breathing to be slow to activate the relaxation response. Fast breathing tells the body it's running from a saber-toothed tiger. It tells the brain the body's running from a saber-toothed tiger. So slow breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest nervous system, the immune boosting nervous system, the longevity inducing nervous system. Slow. The body loves slow. Slow puts you into a brainwave state that's very relaxing. You ever notice, next time you watch a food commercial, watch that syrup go down that pancake. Just like that, and you're just watching it, and you're in the TV as that syrup is dripping down the pancake. They know what they're doing, because slow puts you in what's called an alpha brainwave state, which is a relaxing, suggestible brainwave state. You can use this to your advantage for learning. When you want to learn something, learn slowly. Slow the body down. When you slow the body down, more blood comes from the front, from the back of your brain, the amygdala, the part of your brain that supports you running from a saber-toothed tiger, to the front of your brain where you're more creative and you're more intelligent, you make better decisions. The body likes slow. The body likes, when you're breathing, the body likes depth. I call it SDR breathing, by the way, slow, deep breathing. I'll tell you what the R here is in a second. The depth of your breath tells the body it's safe as well. The slowness tells the body it's safe, and the depth of the breath tells the body it's safe, because when you're running from a saber-toothed tiger, you're not breathing deeply. You're breathing fast and shallow. Depth says when the brain sees that the body's breathing slow and deeply, it says, okay, we're safe. Let's kick in with some parasympathetic energy now. Depth does something else for you when you breathe deeply. There's a muscle in the center of your body. Who knows what that muscle's called? Right in the center of your body. What is it?
Diaphragm.
That's correct. It's your diaphragm. A huge muscle, one of the hugest muscles in the body. The diaphragm goes down when you breathe in and up when you breathe out. The diaphragm is like a second heart. And when you breathe deeply, you support the heart for people who are in heart failure. One of the best things you could do for people who have cardiovascular health challenges, teach them to do SDR breathing. Simply by the diaphragmatic action, the up and down action, you're going to get a pumping action on the blood and on the lymph as well. And as we'll talk about here in a moment, the circulatory system plays a very important role when it comes to health. That's made up of your blood vessels and your lymph. Pumping the diaphragm through deep breathing up and down supports not only breath, but it supports the circulatory system, and not just the circulatory system, but also the parasympathetic nervous system, so you'll have better immunity, better digestion, better thyroid functioning, better sexuality, and better fertility, and better creativity, and all the good stuff in life. And then there's rhythm. The body loves rhythm. It hates chaos. The brain loves rhythm. You know how the old hypnotist movies? You are getting sleepy, right? Rhythm, left and right and left and right. So when you're breathing, you want to breathe rhythmically. In and out rhythmically, slowly, deeply, and rhythmically tells the body it's safe. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system. If high blood pressure is the end result of a sympathetic nervous system activation, what do you think SDR breathing is going to do to your blood pressure? Drop it like a stone. In fact, for folks who can't breathe, and there are some people who just can't figure out how to breathe, here's a real simple thing to do. And this is really one of the coolest things you could do to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and all the women in the room know this intuitively. Women are much more in touch with their bodies because women are reminded they have bodies once a month and several times in life. Throughout history, having a baby and having a menstrual cycle gives you a deep understanding of the body and hormones that go up and down as well. Do you know most chronic degenerative diseases and autoimmune diseases and depressive diseases and thyroid diseases affect women more than men? In general, women are sicker than men, and it has nothing to do with living with us, just so you know. It's built into your, because as I know, okay, don't blame us. It's built into your system. It's built into your system. So women are much more in touch with their bodies, and women know when they feel depressed or they're having a bad day or they're activating their parasympathetic nervous system or their sympathetic nervous system somehow, and they want to have a parasympathetic immersion or activation, they'll come home and they'll say, you know what, I'm going to go take a what? Take a bubbler, take a bath, right? Taking a bath activates the parasympathetic nervous system quickly. So quickly that if you may know this if you're ever sitting in a hot tub and you get out of the hot tub quickly, feel a little dizzy or woozy, that's because your blood pressure has dropped so fast. It's one of the fastest ways to drop your blood pressure because when you're in the bathtub, you're relaxing your muscles. All those little pockets of death are opening up. You're breathing more deeply. Being in a warm bath activates the parasympathetic nervous system. There was a guy named Archimedes. Anybody ever hear of Archimedes? Famous Greek mathematician? Archimedes famously was sitting in the bathtub and he discovered the formula for the displacement of fluid. And he got up out of the bathtub, ran through Athens naked, said, "Eureka!" You ever? I found it. Yeah, that's a famous story. But you know what? Have you noticed you get great ideas in the shower?
Yep.
What is that about? All the great ideas that of all the times you don't have anything to write on, to think of, you get great ideas in the shower. What's that about? Because in the shower, you're activating the parasympathetic nervous system. A warm shower or a warm bath activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So the blood goes from the back of your brain where we have fight or flight to the front of your brain where you can be creative and have good decisions. What does a bath represent? A bath represents the last time anybody ever felt safe 100%.
Right.
Which was when? The bath represents the last place we all felt safe, which is the womb. Yes, the womb. The bath is like a womb. It tells the body it's perfectly safe. Can you imagine what happens to a baby when he comes out from this perfect bath? You know, he comes out, he's like, whoa, and then we slap him on top of everything else. As if this wasn't traumatic enough. No wonder why we're messed up. Right? And this is what really, we're all trying to get back to the womb in a way. In fact, if you get into a pinch, if you get into a real pinch, and something's horrible, God forbid, happens to you, your body will automatically go into a fetal position. It'll go back. It wants to go back. In fact, if you want to activate the parasympathetic nervous system on your own, just go into a fetal position. Notice the next time you're sick, you're automatically curling up. You're going back into a fetal position. It's the wisdom of the body. These are all things we have access to. These are all things that we can do to improve the quality of our life that nobody's telling us. These are all the things we could do to improve our quality of life, and we're taking poisons instead. Or we're getting carved up like a Christmas turkey instead. Or we're just giving up instead. And we just scratched the surface here. So, you know, the next time you know somebody who has high blood pressure and they're on anybody in this room on an antihypertensive, and by the way, antihypertensive drugs are among the most toxic drugs you can take. If it was up to me, if I was running for president, all Americans get a hot tub in their backyard. You don't need Obamacare. That's BenCare. Hot tub in the backyard. You like that? Vote for me, right? That's the kind of health care we need. Health care. 2 massages a month on the federal government. That's my health care. Activate the parasympathetic. Thank you. Vote for me. Right? This is, write me in. I'm guaranteeing it. This is the kind of health care we need. The kind of health care we need is the kind of health care that works with our bodies. See, our bodies know how to heal. Our bodies know how to heal. There's a divine force in the body that heals the body every second of every day. Do you know between cigarettes your lungs start to heal? Between meals your digestive system starts to heal. Between offenses the body starts to heal because it wants to heal. Healing is built in. The biggest problem we have in health today is called degenerative disease. Instead of regenerating, we're degenerating. The body is designed to regenerate, and don't take my word for it. The next time you cut yourself, you can observe that. With your own eyes, you can see the regenerative capacity. That cut that heals itself is happening inside the body too, and when it happens inside the body, and it doesn't have the conditions are not right for regeneration, that's how we get sick. We have cuts that don't heal. We have abrasions that don't regenerate. We have breakdowns that don't correct themselves. And the same thing that happens on the outside of your body when you cut yourself is happening in the inside of the body as we age and as disease kicks in. And the same kind of regenerating capacity that takes place on your skin can happen inside the body too, if we do it correctly. If we understand how to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. If we understand how to take advantage of the healing properties. If we understand what our body does. You know, we're talking about the difference between love and fear. Where's my water? Excuse me. I'm sorry, Leslie.
I didn't even see it.
Love and fear. When you know something, that's loving it. When you understand how your body works, that's loving it. What do you do with people in your life that you love? You want to know about them. You want to know what your kids are doing. You want to know what your husband or your wife is doing. You want to know the things in your life that you love. We want to know our bodies. We want to know how our bodies put together, and we want to know what happens when our body falls apart. Instead of just abdicating and going to somebody who claims to be a health authority and doing whatever they tell us to do. Now, luckily for you guys, for everybody in longevity, as well as for the public in general, we are starting to wake up. Humans are starting to wake up out of a long, many thousands of years slumber. We're now starting to wake up, and there are people who are starting to realize that we've got more doctors per capita than any other culture in the history of the planet, and we're simultaneously the sickest, and our longevity is dropping, and we got more cancer, more diabetes, and more obesity than any other culture in history. And we got more doctors, and drugs, and devices, and protocols, and hospitals, and HMOs, and all of the things that we think are supposed to be keeping us healthy. So people are starting to smell a rat. They're starting to see something, a big rat, right? There's something that doesn't smell right here, right? And people are starting to wake up to this, and this is great for us in longevity because we've been talking about this for decades. Doc's been talking about it even before longevity. He was talking about it, that the medical way of addressing health doesn't work, and nothing exemplifies it more than what we just talked about, this idea of the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. So right away you have, if you leave right now, right away you have a mechanism, a strategy, a tool that you can use to improve your life for the rest of your days. Activate the parasympathetic nervous system through breath, through warm water, through touch and massage, through love, through knowledge and understanding your neighbor, loving your neighbor. In fact, now that I'm on the subject, another fast way to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest nervous system. The next time you have insomnia, you can use this the next time, because insomnia is a classic example, a classic manifestation of the sympathetic nervous system, the stress nervous system. So the next time you have insomnia, do this. Think of all the things you're grateful for. Gratitude activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Have a gratitude list. And then run down the list while you're lying in bed and you can't sleep. I'm thankful for my house, my money, my kid, my spouse, my dog, my body, my whatever. All the things you're thankful for. And then run down the list again. And then again. And the next thing you know, it's going to be morning because you've activated the parasympathetic nervous system and everything has relaxed. Why do you think, by the way, I think I said this, the parasympathetic nervous system regulates digestion. The worst thing you can do is try to eat your food when you're arguing with somebody or watching the news or in a business meeting, which is what we all do, or driving on the 405 while you're eating. That's one of the worst things you could do, right?
Yes.
Joke.
But if you activate the parasympathetic nervous system before you eat, digestive juices will be secreted. Your pancreas will be much more functional. Saliva, and one of the signs of the sympathetic nervous system, by the way, stress nervous system, is dry mouth. You salivate when you're relaxed. You're supposed to salivate when you see food. One of the fastest ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system before you eat is something we used to do, and many of you still do, and perhaps didn't realize that you were activating the parasympathetic nervous system, and that's to say grace. To be grateful for the food that you're eating. You know, it's only been about 100 or 150 years that we've had all the food we want. 200 years ago, starvation was everywhere. And 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, it was a real thing. It's only a recent phenomenon that we have plenty of calories, so many calories that we got way too many calories. This is a recent thing, so we take it for granted. But if you say grace before you eat, if you're grateful before you eat, you'll digest your food better. You know, they have a drug czar who's supposed to be in charge of drug abuse. When COVID was going on, they had a COVID czar who's supposed to be in charge of COVID. We always think with health, when we have a health challenge, we appoint a czar, a king, to take over the health, to be in charge of the battle to fight cancer, or the battle to fight COVID, or the battle to fight drug abuse. Well, you know what? I think we need a constipation czar.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because we got an epidemic of constipation. And just like there's a sleep problem, there's a constipation problem. Well, constipation is a classic case of sympathetic nervous system overdrive. So the next time you're trying to have a bowel movement, be grateful for something. Right? Okay? All right? I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Be grateful. Think of all the things you're grateful for. Everything will open up. Everything will relax. So, right? Yep. So gratitude is one of the fastest ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest nervous system, the healing nervous system, the thyroid nervous system, the recovery nervous system, the nervous system that covers joie de vivre, joy for life. And by the way, joy also activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's a positive feedback loop. You have grace, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, you feel joy, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and it keeps going. Doesn't that sound like a great way to live your life, by the way? Right? And you know what it takes? It takes one thing. One thing. People come to me all the time, and they have a long laundry list of health challenges. I say you only need one thing to get better. Living this way in parasympathetic control in the parasympathetic world takes just one thing. Activating the healing process just takes one thing. Willingness. A decision. I am going to do this today. People, if you have high blood pressure, if you have an autoimmune disease, if you have dementia, if you have a neurological health challenge, a digestive challenge, the only thing you need to get better, to start to get better right away, is a decision. I am going to get better. I'm going to do what it takes. Do you understand this? It's just a decision. It's just the willingness. Now, it sounds simple, but why don't we do it? Because we don't have the willingness. Because we don't take decisions. So if you know anybody who's sick, if you yourself are sick, if you're on a drug, and you understand that the body wants to heal, it's in the body's nature to heal, and you don't have to take my word for it, you just look at your skin every time you cut yourself. The only thing that's getting in the way is a decision. Once you have that, once you make that decision, the whole universe will be on your side. And it will push you to the right people. It will take you to the right information. It will show you the right therapies and the right therapist. It's on automatic, because just like the body wants you to be healthy, so does the world, so does the universe wants you to be healthy. Because we do our best work when we're healthy. God is healthy. We're here to live like God. There's no disease in God. There's no disease in divinity. We're here to be like that. So, activating the parasympathetic nervous system is job number one. It only takes a decision to do. There's tons of different ways that you can do it. The second thing I want to talk about is how the body breaks down. See, when we're born, in fact, even in utero, in womb, the most important part of the body that's going to form is the part in the center, which is where your intestine is. When you're playing basketball, if you're a kid and you play basketball, they always tell you, look in the middle, look at the center, because the body can fake, the other opposing player can fake with their head, they can fake with their hips, but they can't fake with their center. The center is the truth. The center is where everything comes from. This is where in Chinese medicine, qi comes from. In Western medicine, this center of your body is where the outside world meets the inside world. The center of your body is where everything outside the body comes into the body, and the center of the body is the small intestine. And the small intestine is not only where the outside world meets the inside world. The small intestine is where the outside world is the inside world. Most of our body is not us. Most of our body, in terms of cells, is made up of foreign critters that don't even know we exist. You have 10 times more foreign critters in your body than you do cells in your body. These foreign critters, of course, are bacteria, as well as fungus and viruses even. And these foreign critters inhabit the small intestine, and these foreign critters, among other organs of the body, in fact, the skin is coated with these foreign critters. You have them in your eyes, these foreign critters. Your lungs have these foreign critters. These foreign critters are found everywhere in the body, head to toe, but their headquarters is the small intestine. These foreign critters are technically called the microbiome. And the microbiome may be foreign, but they sure are friendly. And while we're conditioned in our culture to think of bacteria as being germs and as being bad, it turns out that 95, 98, maybe 99% of bacteria are your friends. And the most important bacteria that are your friends live in your intestine. Particularly the large intestine, not the small intestine. And these bacteria process foods. They digest foods, and they turn them into energy for us. These bacteria support our immune system. So they fight bad bacteria and bad viruses and bad germs. These bacteria make vitamins. These bacteria make and process hormones. In fact, most of the genes, the genetics in your body comes from the bacteria. In the 1990s, late 1990s, they had this thing called the Human Genome Project. Everybody hear of the Human Genome Project? The Human Genome Project, they had this brilliant idea to figure out how the body's made genetically. So the body is made up of proteins, genetically speaking, and then those proteins are changed into other things, but it starts off as proteins, and all those proteins come from our genetics. Your genetics is colloquially referred to as DNA. But DNA is really made up of genes, so you can think of the whole thing as being genetics. And we're all conditioned to believe that the body comes from these genetics. And in the Human Genome Project, they tried to figure out, they wanted to match a gene with a protein so they could make genetic medicine, is what they were trying to do. They figured, oh, if we can figure out genes and proteins, everything will be, we could figure out what genes make what proteins, and we just change the gene, we change the protein, we can do whatever we want. But they found it wasn't that simple, because we have hundreds of thousands, maybe 200,000 different proteins in the body, but they can only find 25,000 genes. In fact, we have the same amount of genes as a banana. Pretty much. We have almost the same exact genes as a monkey, pretty much. So there's something else going on here. There's only 25,000 genes, but there's hundreds of thousands of protein. What the heck is going on? Well, it turns out that many of these proteins are not coming from our genes, they're coming from bacteria genes. The bacteria in our body act as a library of genetic information for making us. That's how important these bacteria are. They're critically important. They're so important that when the baby comes out of the birth canal, and mothers all know this, the baby is bathed with a coating of bacteria. And those bacteria enter into the baby's mouth and into the baby's nose, and they go down the baby's digestive system, and they implant in the baby's digestive tract. And this is what's supposed to happen. And then after that, what's supposed to happen is nature's most perfect food is given to the baby to grow and enhance this burgeoning microbiome, the bacteria, and to improve the environment that the bacteria are living in. The intestinal bacteria, this is nature's most perfect food. What is that food? Breast milk. This is the job of breast milk, is to build and enhance the conditions for these bacteria to proliferate. And this is what's supposed to happen. However, 30% or more babies are born cesarean section. They don't get this bath of bacteria. And in this room, there's a lot of younger folks in this room, but people over the age of 50, almost guaranteed they did not get a bacterial bath, because we didn't really know how important the bacteria were until about 30 or 40 years ago. So there's a lot of people suffering from health challenges, older people who were born without this important bacterial bath. Or maybe they had the bacterial bath, but they weren't breastfed, because back in the 1950s and 1960s, it wasn't cool to breastfeed. In the 1940s, in fact, you were kind of old-fashioned if you breastfed. So they gave you formula. And there's many people in their 40s and 50s and 60s who grew up on formula and not breast milk. And even if they did get breast milk, they didn't get breast milk long enough. Or they got breast milk from moms who themselves were nutritionally incompetent and didn't have good, healthy breast milk. So we've got people walking around, lots of people walking around, who are missing and who are deprived of these bacteria that make the nutrients, that process the hormones, that communicate to the immune system, that provide genetic information, that in short are responsible for keeping us healthy. And this is a condition called dysbiosis. D-Y-S-B-I-O-S-I-S. So right from the get-go, you got babies who are born with dysbiosis. Or by the time they're 2 or 3, they're dealing with dysbiotic problems. The bacteria are important for digestive health, and when you can't digest your food, you can't get energy from your food correctly. When you can't digest your food and you can't get energy from your food correctly, and you're a baby, what's your only response? You can't hop in the car and go to Whole Foods. What do you do when you're a baby and you're not getting energy? You cry, right? Or you complain. You're grumpy. And what do we parents do when our kid cries and is grumpy? We give him a popsicle. Or we give him some apple juice, or some prune juice, or not prune juice, pear juice. Hopefully not. We give them some, they don't need prune juice. We give them some vegetable, we give them some fruit juice. We give them something to give them some sugar. And then what does that do for the baby? He's happy again, right?
Right.
But you see, he's happy because now he has a little bit of sugar and he can run his body. But the problem is, you see, sugar is very damaging, very explosive, very powerful stuff. And so the body has evolved a system through thousands of years of evolution to get rid of the sugar, to pull the sugar out of the blood. The blood at any given time is only supposed to have a teaspoon of sugar in it. You got about roughly 5 liters of blood or so, and you're supposed to have a teaspoon of sugar in there. If you're healthy, you have a teaspoon of sugar in your blood. And that blood sugar concentration is kept very stable because sugar is explosive. Sugar burns things. Sugar has do you ever get a sugar burn when you're cooking pastries or cooking caramel or something with sugar? It burns hot. If there's ever a fire in a sugar factory, they got to bring the fire department in from all the different towns next to the sugar factory to put the fire out because sugar is explosive. It burns hot. Wow. And so the body has evolved a system for pulling all that pear juice sugar or that popsicle sugar or that baby food sugar out of the blood. That's your insulin system. This is what insulin does. Insulin pulls sugar out of the blood. Now, insulin does a lot of other things too, but its main role is to pull sugar out of the blood. So when you eat sugar, or your baby eats sugar, your baby gets some apple juice because he's grumpy and he's cranky and you want him to be happy. And he's happy for a little bit. He gets his apple juice. He's happy for a little bit. The insulin system comes, pulls that sugar out of the blood. Now the baby's cranky again. So of course, what do we do then? Give him some more sugar. And then insulin pulls the sugar out of the blood, give him some more sugar. And this high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster continues and continues and continues to the point today where we have a huge issue with childhood diabetes. In fact, they had to change the name of adult onset diabetes. Now they call it type 2 diabetes. You know why they changed the name? Because it ain't adult onset anymore.
Right.
It used to be the kind of diabetes only adults got. Now little kids are getting it, so that's changed the name to type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes is also known as insulin resistance. You've probably heard the term insulin resistance. It's kind of a buzz term now. What happens is when you eat sugar, when your baby eats sugar, the child eats sugar, because this is continuing as the child is developing. When your baby or your child or your teenager or an adult eats sugar, insulin comes, pulls it out, and now you're low blood sugar, hypoglycemia they call it. You're hypoglycemic. So of course then you go get more sugar. Sugar goes up, insulin comes out, pulls it out. Eventually, the body stops listening to insulin. So your pancreas has to send more insulin out. And so the body listens to that higher level of insulin, and eventually, as this high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster proceeds through the months and the years and the decades, it stops listening to that amount of insulin. So the pancreas, the body's always adjusting. The body's always pulling the highs down and the lows up, and if something's not being responded to correctly, it sends out more communication. So more insulin comes out, and this goes on and on and on until the body finally says, I'm done. I'm not listening to any insulin. Now, that's when the doctor says you're going to have to take insulin shots. Okay, now, previous to that, however, as your body stops listening to insulin and the insulin is going up and up and up and up and up, that's called hyper means a lot, insulinemia. Emia means in the blood. This is a condition called hyperinsulinemia. And so ironically, for somebody who's insulin resistant, they're actually producing lots of insulin, because the body's trying to get the cells to listen to the insulin. So the insulin's really high, and the problem with insulin is many of the problems associated with diabetes are insulin problems, not sugar problems. And nobody will test for that. So insulin is not, I said insulin does a lot of things. One of the things insulin does is it makes things grow. It's a growth substance. Insulin is given to animals sometimes, cattle, to make them fatter. Bodybuilders, unscrupulous bodybuilders will actually take insulin shots, bless you, will take insulin shots to make themselves better, to make themselves bigger. Insulin is a growth substance. It makes things grow. And so when you have diabetes, or you have insulin resistance, which is called type 2 diabetes, it's not just a blood sugar problem, it's also an insulin problem, and nobody checks for insulin. Because they'll check for blood sugar, and here's where it becomes really ironic. Because insulin is a growth substance that makes you grow. if you have skin tags, if you have boils or cysts or unexplained boils or cysts or fibroids or tumors inside your body, cancer even, all of these can be caused by elevated levels of insulin. Insulin, when it's high, it will make cells divide really rapidly. When cells divide really rapidly inside blood vessels, the pressure will become higher. So elevated insulin can cause high blood pressure, cause heart disease. We used to call, because insulin makes cells divide, there's a skin disease where cells are dividing really rapidly inside the follicle. Follicle is like a little rabbit hole in your skin. The rabbit hole in the top has what we call a pore, and down the outside of the rabbit hole is the pore, and then all pores have follicles. When cells divide really rapidly in the follicles, because there's insulin's really high, you'll get plugged follicles. What do we call that condition? Acne. We used to call acne skin diabetes in pharmacy school. Acne is also an insulin issue. Insulin makes things grow. It makes cells divide really rapidly. It's a growth substance. And as your insulin is rising, all of these symptoms are accruing, and you go to the doctor and he says, well, your blood sugar is normal. Why would your blood sugar be normal? Because your insulin's high. And nobody's checking for insulin. And so people have all these symptoms of blood sugar problems, and the doctor says, well, your blood sugar is normal. You know, nothing exemplifies the craziness of our medical model more than how we detect diabetes and insulin. Diabetes, by the way, is a disease. I was going to say this when I first started talking, so let me just say this now. So quick digression here. One of the things that, love Rebecca, but I always get on her about one thing. Before we do a talk, and I do Zoom calls. Have you guys seen my Zoom calls we do daily with Doc? I haven't really talked about any of that stuff, but before we do, Rebecca always says, say that. Can you say it by heart? Say it by heart.
This program is for educational purposes only. It is not meant to be replaced as a primary care physician, nor are there products
Okay.
meant to treat, diagnose, or cure.
It's a disclaimer, right? We always have to give a disclaimer. I'm always teasing Rebecca about this disclaimer, because it makes us sound like we're not allowed to do stuff. We're not allowed to, I'm nobody. I don't know anything. Well, I know. Go to the doctor. He knows everything. The doctor knows. I don't know. That's what it sounds like to me. Well, I know. I know. So I can understand why the average person might think that, but I always tease Rebecca about that. And so what I tell Rebecca, and we talked about this, and I talked about this with Debbie, is what we can't do, what we don't want to do is we don't want to talk about necessarily diseases. And you see, diseases are copyrighted. The medical model owns the name. I can't say Kleenex, but I can say tissues. I can't say Xerox, but I can say copies. Those are brand names. You see, diseases are brand names. They're brand names that doctors give biochemistry, biochemical breakdowns, biochemical disturbances, biochemical pathologies get branded and copyrighted. And you can't say diabetes, but you can say dysglycemia. You can't say irritable bowel syndrome, but you can say dysbiosis. You can't say the name of the drug, the name of the disease, but you can say the biochemistry that's behind it. And this is what we all want to understand. Nobody owns the biochemistry. God owns the biochemistry. It's public domain. We all own the biochemistry. And when the body doesn't break down at the level of disease, it breaks down at the level of biochemistry. So we don't need to say the names of the diseases. So I've been talking about diabetes, but it's really dysglycemia. Dysglycemia means messed up blood sugar. And between messed up blood sugar, I was going to tell you this, that was my digression. So I just want everybody to understand, you could say the biochemistry all you want. Nobody owns the biochemistry. You just got to be careful with the name of the disease, particularly for longevity reps. But here's what's really interesting to me about diabetes. And I can say it, by the way. You want to be careful about, if you're not really comfortable with medicine or with biology, that you don't say those things. But you can say dysglycemia all day long. But here's what's interesting about diabetes. So you go to the doctor. How many people in this room are diagnosed as a diabetic, type 2 diabetic? Anybody? No? Diagnosed? Borderline. So you go, borderline, right? So you go to the doctor, and the doctor, the test score, the metric for, metrics always crack me up, these numbers that nobody looks at you, they look at your numbers. you know, you come in with horrible, all these symptoms. You say, oh my God, my fingernails are lousy. I'm tired all the time. My hair's falling out. You know, I'm going to check your thyroid. Can you have my thyroid checked? The doctor checks your thyroid and says, your thyroid's fine. What are you talking about? But well, look at me. You know, it's as if you go to a restaurant and you order the hamburger. You bite into the hamburger and you go, oh my God, that's a terrible hamburger. You call the waiter over, say, waiter, this is a terrible hamburger. And the waiter says, what are you talking about? Look here in this book. On the menu, best hamburger ever. What are you talking about? It says, most delicious hamburger in the world. And you're just like, I ate the hamburger, it tastes terrible. You know, we get fooled. We marginalize our own personal experiences because somebody told us we're okay. And so there are a lot of people who are given antidepressants when they present with a health challenge that doesn't show up on a test. Human beings are not tests. Your test score doesn't matter. It's your symptoms that count. If you go to the doctor, and the metric, by the way, for diabetes to officially be a diabetic is 120 milligrams of sugar per deciliter of blood. Just remember 125 or 120 or maybe 125. Say 120. 120 milligrams of sugar per deciliter. A deciliter is a tenth of a liter of blood. 125 or 120. So you go to the doctor, he takes your blood, and he looks at it, and he says, well, you're 119.9999999. You're good. All good. No problem. You go, and the next time you go, it's like, oh my God, it's 120. Now you're a diabetic. Now you get a little t-shirt, I'm a diabetic, a little hat, and you race for the cure, and you get diabetes medicine, and you're on the diabetes protocol and diabetes insurance because you clicked over from 119.99999 to 120. We're allowing people who have no idea about us and our lives to determine what our bodies are like and how healthy or unhealthy we are. We've completely left our bodies. We've completely abdicated responsibility for our bodies and given it to some other authority. So working with your digestive system, working with your blood sugar system, I call these the baseline of the 3 points of bodily breakdown, which I refer to as the triangle of disease. And the triangle of disease are the 3 points of bodily breakdown that underlie all health challenges. The base of the triangle is the digestive system and the blood sugar system, and I'm going to tell you the tip of it, but it's the base that's the most important. The tip of the triangle is the adrenal glands and the thyroid. The adrenal glands give you emergency energy, and when your digestive system has been messed up for years, decades even, and your blood sugar has been thrown off for years and decades, and you're on this high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster, eventually your body will kick into an emergency mode of biochemistry, which involves the hormones adrenaline and cortisol. These are adrenal gland hormones. The adrenal glands are your emergency glands. And interestingly, they're also your growth hormone glands, your steroid hormone glands, your estrogen and your testosterone. And this is going to become very important for menopausal women to understand, what I'm going to say here in a moment. And andropausal men, by the way. You know, there's andropause as much as there's menopause. Andropause is what men go through as they get older. And a lot of what we call generically our sex hormones, which are really our growth and repair hormones, are made in the same glands that make your emergency hormones. And when you're running on emergency energy, you're not going to be able to make your sex hormones. And one of the biggest problems men have as they get older and women have as they get older is all of their hormonal raw materials are going to make emergency hormones and not estrogen and progesterone and testosterone and the sex hormones. And the classic manifestation, ladies, of all of this is hot flashes and night sweats and anxiety and all of the things that read like a laundry list of activated emergency systems, which is what menopause is. It's an activated emergency menopause. Can you relate? Any ladies here? It's like your body's in constant emergency. Because all of that energy is going, all that raw material hormonal energy is going to make emergency hormones. When you make emergency hormones for a long period of time because your blood sugar has been messed up for a long period of time, because your digestive system has been messed up for a long period of time, eventually the thyroid will start to slow down. When the thyroid slows down, that's called hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism is related to excessive adrenal activity, which is related to blood sugar issues, which is related to digestive issues. This is the triangle of disease: the digestive system, the blood sugar system, and the adrenal thyroid complex. Once the thyroid slows down and you deal with hypothyroidism, you are off to the disease races, because the thyroid regulates everything. The thyroid makes something called thyroid hormone. You guys all know this. Thyroid hormone tells muscle cells to muscle, and tells heart cells to heart, and tells immune cells to immune, and tells skin cells to skin, and tells intestinal cells to intestine, and tells bladder cells to bladder, and tells all the cells of your body to do what they're supposed to do. They all do what they're supposed to do. Muscle cells do muscle things, and heart cells do heart things, and skin cells do skin things when they're activated by thyroid hormone. And when thyroid hormone is suppressed, when you're dealing with hypothyroidism because you're hyperadrenal and because you have dysglycemia and because you have dysbiosis, your muscles won't work right, your heart won't work right, your immune system won't work right, your digestive system won't work right. Everything slows down. And the end result is chronic degenerative disease. And behind all chronic degenerative disease, you'll find hypothyroidism. You don't need to be tested. You can assume it. Behind all chronic degenerative disease, you will find hypothyroidism. You don't need to be tested. You can assume it. But here's the thing. You can't just take care of the thyroid. And anybody in this room who has hypothyroid knows, anybody on Synthroid here, or levothyroid, or levothyroxine, or anything like that, you know that you can't fix your thyroid by taking Synthroid. The best they can do is replace some thyroid hormone, but that's not how hormones work in the body. Hormones are supposed to go up when they need to go up and down when they need to go down. Hormones are control mechanisms. You can't just put a stream of hormones in the body as a drug. That's not how hormones work. Hormones are supposed to tell cells what to do when they need to be done. So when you need a little more thyroid hormone, your body makes some more thyroid hormone. When you need a little bit more insulin hormone, your body makes a little more insulin hormone. It's supposed to be some flexibility. When you take a drug hormone, you're sending a stream of hormone from the outside. That's not how the body wants to work, but that's the best we can do, because there's nothing you can do for hypothyroidism. Why is there nothing you can do for hypothyroidism? Because it's not the thyroid that's the problem. It's the adrenals, and it's the blood sugar, and it's the digestive system. And that's the bad news. The good news is when you work on the digestive system and the blood sugar system and the adrenals, the thyroid will take care of itself. When you work downstream, everything upstream will resolve. The triangle of disease is so critical to understand, because if we don't address the triangle, when we're dealing with cancer, when we're dealing with heart disease, when we're dealing with Parkinson's or dementia or autoimmunity, we can't do anything. Because the autoimmunity or the thyroid problem or the dementia is caused by the triangle underneath. The good news is when you address the triangle, everything will fall into place. The reason our medical model fails us is because it's not addressing the basic breakdowns. It's addressing the fruit, not the root. Right? You see how logical it is. By the way, have I said anything that's really complicated here, or medical, or you need a degree for? This is just logic. This is just engineering. This is just troubleshooting. This is plumbing. This is just how everything is connected to each other. It has nothing to do with all the different molecular mechanisms and genetic correlates and enzyme systems. This is just logic, you guys. We've allowed what's just simple and logical to be taken out of our hands. What medical school did you go to, Mrs. Jones? Did you get that from Dr. Google? Oh, isn't that cute? You're on Google, isn't that cute? That's how they make us feel. We think it's complicated. It's not complicated. I used to do research at the medical library. You don't have to do that anymore. You get on the internet now. You used to have to, Xerox things and go floor to floor to floor and pull out magazines and books and journals, etc. And in Colorado, probably here, and at all universities, the medical library is like 6 stories of books and books and books going back to the 1800s. We know every little genetic system and every little molecular system and every little cellular system, but we're sicker than ever before. It's like how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? This is what the Christian message is all about. We can be our own health authorities. In the old days they used to say, don't you worry. We will take care of God for you. We talk to God, You're just, what do you do? Just go about your life, give us your house, give us 10% of your salary or your income, and we will talk to God for you, and you go about your merry little business, right? You go about your sinning. That's what they used to say, right? And how silly, right? Today, what do we say? Say, you can eat at McDonald's, you can have Snickers bars, you don't need to exercise. We got a pill for you. We can take care of you for, you don't need to worry about anything. We'll take care of it. Just give us your house, give us 10% of your income, right? And we'll take care of everything. Today's medical model, we don't have the silly, we're not silly about the whole priest and church thing anymore, but we've transferred that power, that authority to doctors over our bodies, and they are now the medical priests, and we're the nobodies. Well, I say, let's be our own health authorities. Let's take care of this ourselves. Let's understand how this whole thing is put together, because it's not complicated. I haven't said anything complicated here, you guys. And you may not want to do all the things. I'll tell you what we have to do here in a moment, but it's not complicated. It's very simple. The body breaks down on 3 basic levels and everything else follows. You're not going to get better ever if you don't address the digestive system and the blood sugar system. But if you do address the digestive system and the blood sugar system, everything else will fall into place, including the thyroid, including the adrenal glands. That's for all chronic degenerative diseases, because the body is designed to heal. It wants to heal. It wants to get better. So we talked about the parasympathetic nervous system versus the sympathetic nervous system. We talked about the 3 points of bodily breakdown that need to be addressed if you're going to be healthier. So how do we actually do it? What can we actually do? What are the steps we can actually take to address all this? And how you guys, I want to save some time for some questions. How are you guys doing so far?
Awesome.
Okay, good. You got some ahas? Got some take-homes? Okay, well, hang on. That's what I was going to tell you, is I'm going to take questions here. I'm going to leave time for questions. I'm going to talk for another half hour or so, and then we'll take some questions. You guys are all good with time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so what do? We got the 3 points of bodily breakdown. We've got the stress nervous system and the emergency nervous system, and the emergency nervous system and the relaxation nervous system, the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic. And right now, if you leave right now, you already understand the body a lot better than you did when you came in here. You've already got questions. You've got a raw material to be able to ask correct questions of your healthcare professional. But let's talk about how you can address this yourself. What can we do ourselves? Well, just like we have a triangle of disease, we've got a 4-fold square of health. The 4-fold square of health is nutrition, respiration, movement, and rest. These are the 4 things you want to do from a physical perspective. Remember, SMEP, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. I'm not going to talk about that anymore, but I just want you to understand that everything starts off spiritually, then mentally and emotionally, and shows up physically. From a physical perspective, there's 4 aspects, 4-fold square of health. First, there's movement. The body loves to move. Under conditions of movement, you generate an electrical charge through your circulatory system. That's why the diaphragm moving up and down is so important, because it helps generate what's called a zeta potential. A zeta potential is the electrical energy that fuels all of the cells of the body. Just for a moment, let's think about the cells of the body. The cells of the body are somehow coordinated in a way that they can all communicate to each other in this almost instantaneous fashion, where cells at the top of your head and your brain can communicate to your toe, so that every time you stub your toe, you get a signal in your brain instantaneously. How long does it take for that to happen? From the time you stub your toe to the time you say, oh crap. A second, half a second. That's how fast these cells are moving. What the heck is going on? Our body is made up of living creatures called cells. Living creatures. If I took a cell out of your gum and I put it in a little dish, and I put a little piece of food in the dish, the cell would, like that, literally, it would develop legs and crawl to the food. And if I put poison in the cell, excuse me, would instantaneously change its structure and go backwards. Away from the poison. These little cells are intelligent. They have an ability to respond to the environment. And you have 100 trillion. How long do you think, if you counted one by one, how long would it take you to count to 100 trillion? How many years? It would take you tens of millions of years, probably 40 million years, to count your cells one by one. And they're so tiny, a cell is so tiny, that if I put one right here, you couldn't see it. It's invisible. But in that invisible tininess, you have you have millions of working parts. And those working parts are constantly breaking down and being built up on their own. You have 100 trillion cells here, and each one is microscopic, and they're made up of millions of working parts that are assembling and disassembling spontaneously. What the heck? Come on. Is that the most, it's craziness. And each one of these cells has decided to take it for the team, to give itself up. So instead of being a little independent creature that will crawl to food and away from food, it will become a liver, or it will become a bone. Or it will lose its independence for the sake of the whole. Is that cool? Yeah. It will give itself up. It gives its independence up to become a part of our bodies. And what we call a hepatocyte, in biochemistry, cyte always means cell. Hepatocyte is a liver cell. Osteocyte is a bone cell. Myocyte is a muscle cell. Keratinocyte is a skin cell. Cardiocyte is a heart cell. When a cell decides, you know what? I love you so much, I will give myself up so that you can have life. I will become a liver and I will become a heart. All I ask for you is that you take care of me. All I ask for you is that you feed me, is that you detoxify, give me a clean place to do my work, and you give me some oxygen. That's all I ask, and that's all a cell really wants. It wants to breathe, it wants to eat, and it wants to have a clean place to do its business. But when we do not feed a cell, we do not breathe the cell doesn't have enough oxygen, or we immerse the cell in a toxic environment, which includes drugs and sugar, the two most important toxins that our cells have to deal with and have to confront. Prescription drugs and sugar, they're in the same level. It's no accident that the drug companies own all the snack food companies. They're all one big company. One big multinational company. All the vices, all the cigarette company, the tobacco and alcohol and potato chips and drugs, they're all owned by the same multinational corporations. And so when a cell is not fed or it's not oxygenated or it's toxic, you know what it's going to do? It's going to say, I'm not going to be a liver. What the heck? I've been sitting around here. You haven't fed me. You haven't breathed me. You've been making me swim in my own waste. I'm not going to be a liver. I'm just going to go ahead and divide. Wow. Forget liver. Who liver? Liver schmiver. I'm going to go ahead and divide. You haven't been taking care of me, so it'll go ahead and divide. And instead of being a liver, it'll just be a big mass. What do we call that? Cancer. That's what cancer is. That's exactly what cancer is. The next time they tell you they don't know what causes cancer, no. We know what causes cancer if you use your common sense. It's a cell that's been starved and suffocated and been toxic, and it's just not going to be a liver anymore, or a bone, or a skin, or a pancreas, or anything else, intestine, lung, whatever. It's a cell that's gone rogue, a sociopathic cell, and there's no ever going to be a cure for cancer. That's idiocy. Wow. Idiocy. When you understand that cancer is just a cell that hasn't been fed and starved and suffocated. And all the trillions with a T of dollars that are spent since the 60s when they decided they're going to have a war on cancer haven't done anything. People are the same amount of people, maybe more, are dying. Wow. Because they're starved and they're suffocated and they're toxic. And at the end of the day, all the starvation and the suffocation and toxicity are a problem for the cell because of the number one thing a cell needs, and the number one most important thing the body needs. It's not oxygen. It's not nutrition. It's not detoxification. All of the things that we talked about that cause a cell to break down, the toxicity and the suffocation and the starvation, are really problems because they disrupt electricity. Because at the end of the day, we're electrical. We're not chemical. And chemistry only works because of electricity. All chemistry is electricity. And so learning to generate electrical charges in the body becomes critical. And this is what prana is. This is why prana is so important. This is why breathing is so important. And when you breathe, you generate electrical charges in your body. By the way, we call electrical charges, from a chemistry perspective, we have a term that describes electrical charges that nobody ever even talks about as an electrical phenomena, and that is pH. Anybody ever hear pH and alkaline and acid? That's all electrical phenomena. When something is acid, it's spewing out electricity. When something is alkaline, it's sucking up electricity. The reason why alkaline, have you guys heard about alkaline water and alkaline food? And you want to be in a sucking state, not a spewing state. You want to be more like a vacuum cleaner than a fountain. When something's alkaline, it's like a vacuum cleaner. It's sucking up energy. Why do you suppose you want the inside of your body to be alkaline? Why do you want to be in a vacuum cleaner stage more than a fountain stage?
Sucking out the bad energy. I don't know.
Okay, you're on the right track. It's good.
It's all connected.
It's true, it's all connected. But, well, that is true. That is true. But why do you want to be primarily sucking more than spewing? That doesn't sound right. You got that? He's laughing over there. I got to come up with different words. Sorry about that. My point is inside the body, and when we say inside the body, we really mean inside the blood. Inside the blood, when you're in a vacuum state, you're pulling energy off of food. You're pulling the energy. When you're in a spewing state, you're not getting energized as effectively. It's better to. You always want to be taking things out rather than pushing them out. Taking things in rather than pushing them out. So alkaline pulls things in. Here's a little riddle for you guys. The skin is acid. But inside the body, you want it to be alkaline, like a vacuum cleaner. You want to suck up energy from food. Why would you want the skin acid? Healthy skin is acidic. Older skin, drier skin, eczema skin, psoriasis skin, diseased skin is more alkaline. Why would you want your skin to be acid, but you want your insides to be alkaline? Bingo. It's like a force field. Are you in the skin business? It's like a force field. It's pushing things out. That's very good. That's very good. And by the way, one of the best things you could do for a skin disease is make sure your skin is more acidic. Eat eggs. That's just a little tip for people who want to have good skin. Eggs contain one of nature's most important acidic substances for the skin. Eggs are skin food. We'll talk about eggs here in a second because eggs are the perfect food. But anyway, I digress. It's all about electricity. And the body is designed to generate electrical charges through movement. Movement generates electrical charges, and it doesn't take a lot of movement. It doesn't take a lot of action. You know, we have this world where we think we have too much action. We think, you hear this all the time. What's your name, ma'am? LaTanya, you do this too much. You got to stop doing this. What are you doing too much of? Leslie, what do you do too much of? Stop doing this so much. Why are you doing this so much? What is the word I'm thinking of? Worry, stress.
Yes.
We have this world where we don't think we're supposed to stress. Well, guess what? The body likes stress. The body likes stress, that's right. When do you have the least amount of stress? When you're sleeping less. When do you have the least amount of stress? No, I don't want you to say. When do you have the least amount of stress?
When you're moving.
Sleeping, moving, no guesses? When do you have the least amount of stress?
When you're having fun?
When you're having fun? No, less than that.
Less than that? Okay.
This is when you have the least amount of stress. When you're dead. No stress. You are stress-free. Stress is gone.
Completely.
Right? Completely. Life is stress. The stress is not bad. It's the over-stress. We don't mind stress like work. You know, on Mondays, people say, oh, it's Monday. I got to go to work. People hate going to work. They got to go to work on Monday. Oh, thank God it's Friday. I got 2 days off. As if Monday's not like right around the corner. You know, we haven't caught on yet. You know, how fast does Monday come after Friday, right? It's like we got, it's like human beings don't want to work. No, that's not true. We just don't want to work all the time. We don't mind working. We just don't want to work 40 hours. Who came up with that? How about 5 hours? Right? Your body likes stress, but it doesn't want it all the time. If you had to only work 5 hours a week, they couldn't get you out of the office. You'd be like, I ain't going. I'm not going to be here. I got nothing to do. I'm not going to go home. We think we like rest. You ever been stuck in bed all day? How good does that feel? No, it doesn't feel good. We can't even do it. The human body likes stress. It likes movement. It just doesn't want to do it all the time. It likes action. It just doesn't want to do it all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, I don't know if you ever go, how many of you guys go camping or hiking? You go camping and hiking, you walk 5 miles and 10 miles all day, your legs hurt, you finally take that huge backpack off, you cook that potato on the fire. It's the best potato you ever had. It drops on the ground, you got dirt on it, you don't care. It's the best potato you ever ate in your life, right? Because after a hard day's work, we love that relaxation. We don't want to stay in bed all day long, but we want to relax after a hard day's work. I don't know if you ever run, but if you ever run, like how many of you guys do serious running, right? When you stop running and you get home, that's the best. Oh my God, you feel great on the couch. Holy cow, I feel awesome. And the body's designed, it's wired that way. It's wired to like stress, just not stress all the time. Today they have something called high intensity interval training. Anybody heard of the best way to exercise is exercise for a minute and then rest. And then exercise another minute and then rest. 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 10 seconds. But do it intensely. The body loves intensity in short bursts. And then lots of long, luscious rest. The kind of rest the body likes is after intense stress. Acute, not chronic. Acute means bursts of it, like high intensity interval training. Bursts of stress followed by long rest. And you better believe that rest is critical because it's not the stress that builds the muscle. It's not the surge of electrical energy that makes the cells thrive. It's the recovery. You want to learn to leverage the recovery. In the skin business, one of the best things you can do for your skin is stress your skin with acid. How many of you ladies use alpha hydroxy acids on the skin or have peels done on your skin? What you're doing is you're putting acute stress in the skin, but the skin doesn't grow when you're stressing it. It grows the next day. When you're lifting weights, your muscles aren't growing when you're doing your curls. Your muscles are growing the next day when you're sitting on the couch watching TV. Learning to leverage the rest period is critical. Resting appropriately is one of the most important things you could do for your health. But it is resting appropriately, and that means after stress. It's this yin and yang, this yang and yin of stress and rest. You ever see the yin-yang symbol? It's got two of them going into each other. One leads into the next and leads into the next. This is the cycle, the rhythm of life. And even the rhythm of electricity itself is like this, like a snake. It's called a sine wave. And that's the fundamental energy in the universe, is the sine wave, up and then down and up and then down. The way the body likes is quick bursts of up, followed by long, luscious rest. Not just rest that comes after stress. And one of the easiest ways to activate the relaxation response, the rest response, that will help you do everything parasympathetic that you want to do, whether it's digest your food, or whether it's have good sleep, or have a strong immunity, have beautiful skin, or have strong bones, or grow and recover, or whatever it is to learn to sit still. Blaise Pascal, a famous mathematician and philosopher, said all of man's problems can be summed up, I'm paraphrasing here, in his inability to sit still. And he said that in the 1600s. Learning to sit still. And when you're learning to sit still, watching your mind. You know, we have a thing called a mind, right? You've all heard of the mind, right? Everybody heard of the mind. What is the mind? What is it? There's no such thing, a mind. The mind is the name we give all the thoughts that swim around every day. Right now, all these thoughts. You know, as I'm sitting here talking, you're listening to me, there's a voice in your head. Is he right? Is he wrong? I didn't hear that. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, no. Oh, I'm so glad I came. Oh, I wish I was home. All these things, right? All these things going on in your head right now. Right now. All those things going on are collectively the mind. There's no mind. It's just a bunch of noise that's going on in our heads. Learning to watch that noise activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Just watching the noise. Just watching all the voices, all the thoughts, all the things you should have done and you didn't do, you would have done, you could have done, your worries, your regrets, your hopes, your fears, all those things, just watching it will activate the parasympathetic nervous system. We have a name for sitting and watching all of that noise that's going on in our heads. We have a name for that. There's a process that you can do. What do we call that? Meditate. Thank you. Learning to meditate is the mind's version of the body resting. Because when you're watching the mind, you're watching the thoughts, you're not being the thoughts. You're separated from the thoughts, you're watching them. By the way, for advanced meditators, what the heck's watching? Just take that one home. Okay, what's doing the watching there? There's something doing the watching. That's who you really are. You're not the noise. You're really the thing watching the noise. Do you ever dawn? If you have a voice in your head and you're hearing it, who's hearing it? Somebody help me. Right? Who's hearing it? That's who you are. But we identify with the voice. We think we're the voice. Meditation teaches you you're not the voice. It teaches you you're the watcher of the voice and immediately puts you parasympathetic because guess what? Nothing can happen to that. That is invulnerable. No fire can burn it. No hammer can nail it. No damage can ever happen to it. It can never even die. That thing. It's eternal. It's immortal. It's universal. It's infinite. It goes on. It doesn't stop. There's no stop to it. If you can watch that thing, you'll see there's no end to it. There's no boundary. See how powerful this is, you guys? And immediately your blood pressure will drop. Immediately you'll start to secrete digestive juices. Immediately your immune system will be stronger. Immediately you'll grow and recover more effectively. Your thyroid will be more functional. Your adrenal glands will stand down. The triangle of disease will stabilize itself. Just by meditating, sitting and watching the thoughts, watching it. And don't underestimate how hard that is to do. To watch the thoughts and not be the thoughts. Some of you are probably had that voice in your head, what the heck is he talking about? and what is this voice he's talking about? I don't hear a voice. There's probably people say that. They don't know because we're so disassociated from it. So learning to meditate is critical. That's the most important part of mental rest, just like sitting and relaxing the body is an important part of physical rest, which goes with the stress. Stress and rest go together. I call it exarrest. Because they go together, like the yin-yang symbol, exarrest. One leads to the other, and the body likes quick bursts of stress, quick bursts of movement, quick bursts of activity, quick bursts of getting past your comfort zone, and then lots of rest and relaxation. And by the way, that rest and relaxation that you get secretes a chemical, in your, induces the secretion of a chemical in your brain that is getting a lot of press these days. It's a brain chemical. When people have a deficiency in this brain chemical, they can't open doors. They can't lift cups or lift bottles. You know, every time you open a door, there's a little guy in your brain that goes, yippee! Literally, it's a reward. You feel like a success just by opening the door. And your brain secretes a very important chemical when you achieve something and then sit back and enjoy your work. It's called dopamine. That's exactly right. Now, dopamine is getting a lot of press these days. People are understanding the importance of dopamine. People who don't make enough dopamine, literally, they can't pick up a bottle. They go like this. What's that called? Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease is when you can't hold a bottle. Parkinson's disease is when you don't make enough dopamine in your brain. You don't make enough dopamine in your brain because your immune system has been operating on fear mode. One of the fastest ways to reduce tremors for people who have, hey, you know anybody has anybody has Parkinson's? Okay? Know anybody has Parkinson's? You can't have tremors in a bathtub. Wow. Nobody ever has tremors in a bathtub. Why is that? Because you're activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Everything relaxes. Wow. Parkinson's disease, by the way, is a classic example of the triangle and how the triangle gets disassociated from the disease state, because Parkinson's disease begins in the gut. And everybody who has Parkinson's disease has a digestive problem. Everybody. Your friend, do you know somebody with Parkinson's? Anybody have a parent or somebody they know really well? Always have digestive problems. And I've been talking about that for years. When I started talking about the triangle 25 years ago, now you can go online and you can see the relationship between the digestive system and Parkinson's disease. It's well known. And the blood sugar system also. People with Parkinson's disease also have dysglycemia. The reason people don't get their Parkinson's addressed is because they're trying to treat the fruit, not the root. Wow. If you want to treat Parkinson's disease, do all the things we just talked about for the last 2 hours, including activating the parasympathetic nervous system, including making sure you're taking care of the digestive system, particularly the intestine, dysbiosis, the blood sugar system, and then the adrenal thyroid complex. So it's all electrical. Electricity is generated by movement. The electricity that stimulates the health of the body, whether it's building or whether it's growing or whether it's repairing, is leveraged when you're resting, and it's a yang-yin of stress and rest. And then there's the third point on the square of health, and that's respiration. I said respiration, not inhalation or exhalation, because it's both. It's inhaling and exhaling. They're both important, both phases. We talked about how the inhalation is sympathetic. In fact, if you're driving and you're tired, and you want to wake up, or first thing in the morning if you want to wake up, or in the middle of the day if you want to wake up. If you're feeling drowsy, you can do something called the breath of fire. Anybody hear the breath of fire? You go really fast. You get a lot of oxygen, a lot of sympathetic activity, and much less parasympathetic activity. It gives you energy. You do it when you're driving, you're falling asleep. Take short, quick breaths, lots of short, quick breaths, lots more oxygen relative to exhalation. And the opposite is also true. When you want to relax, sigh. Or if you're doing a breathing practice, you breathe in for a lot less than you breathe out. It's better to give than it is to receive. You breathe out for 10 seconds and you breathe in for 5 seconds. And that way you activate the parasympathetic nervous system for all the things that we talked about, for lowering your blood pressure, for building your immunity, for increasing your longevity, whatever it is. Improving thyroid function, reducing your adrenal activity. Women with hot flashes or menopausal symptoms, which are classic examples of a hyperactive sympathetic nervous system. All the parasympathetic things that you can think of doing, whether it's slow SDR breathing, more exhaling than inhaling, muscle relaxation, massage, water immersion, gratitude, all the parasympathetic nervous system kinds of functions. And then we come to the fourth point in the triangle of disease, or on the square of health, which is probably why you guys all came here. And you notice we haven't even touched nutrition yet. And these are all the amazing things that you can do to take care of the health of your body. These are all the things that you have at your disposal, all the options that you have at your disposal as a patient or as a client or as a human, or all the things you can teach other people as a longevity distributor. Because longevity is about much more than nutrition. We're about lifestyle. We're about teaching people how to be healthy in all ways, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, using all tools, whether it's respiration or whether it's movement or whether it's meditation or rest, using everything at your disposal. And nothing involves drugs, and nothing involves doctors, and nothing involves medicine. It's just us. It's just us, right? How cool is that? You now have at your disposal a dozen different tools that you can use to lower your blood pressure and build your immunity. And we haven't even talked about nutrition. And if you leave right now, you already have all these tools that free you, liberate you from the tyranny of modern medicine. I asked Doc one day, longevity before, it was longevity. You guys know what it was called? Anybody know?
Longevity.
What was it called? American longevity, yes. It's called American longevity. And they had to change the name. There was some kind of trademark thing, infringement. But I asked Doc once, I said, Doc, why did you, by the way, that's my meditation. I have it set to meditate twice a day. And you can do it on your phone. So anyway, I asked Doc why he called his company American Longevity. He said it was his two favorite things. He said, America, freedom, independence, be your own person, take care of yourself, make your own money, liberate yourself from the authorities, and liberate yourself from the medical model, and liberate yourself from anybody who will tell you that they have control over you, whether it's a boss or whether it's a doctor. And longevity, which is health and wellness. That's what longevity is about. We don't call it American longevity. It's really about freedom. Freedom from the medical model. Freedom from the economic model. Freedom from the models that enslave us at the most fundamental levels, which is our health and our wealth. And longevity, it's our birthright to feel great, to bound out of bed in the morning, to throw your grandkids or your kids up in the air and catch them, to not be in chronic pain, to be able to touch your toes, to be able to just have a great life. Look, we got this body. There's so much joy and so much pleasure that it can have. But we're leaving health on the table. And we're leaving health on the table because we're letting other people define the metrics. We're letting other people tell us where the goalposts are. The goalposts are not the metrics and the tests that you get from the doctor's office. They're feeling good, looking good, being resistant to diseases, having a great mind, not being anxious and worried and fearful all the time. That's what the metrics of good health are about, and that's things that involve our lifestyle, not doctor's offices. They involve the choices we make, not the things we're told we have to do. So the fourth point we haven't even touched on is nutrition, and I love talking about nutrition. I told you earlier, that's how I got into the whole longevity thing. I didn't tell you the story how I got into longevity. When I had my pharmacy and I was dispensing nutrients and making skincare products for people, and I saw how much healthier they got when they started taking supplements, how much better their skin looked, how their diseases went away. The same things you hear about when you're in longevity all the time. I started doing talks. And I started going around town because I felt, like I said to you at the beginning, I couldn't live with myself if I didn't share what I knew. If I didn't tell people the potential that we have, the options that we have, the choices that we can make that will make us feel better that we can't be given by the medical model. So I started doing talks, and then one day I was in my lab working, and I got a tape in the mail. And looked at the tape, dead doctors don't lie. So that's interesting. I just put it in the drawer, I didn't think about it, and a couple days later, I got another tape in the mail. Dead doctors don't lie. Throw in the drawer, I didn't really think too much of it. And for the next couple of months, every 3 or 4 days, I got another tape. Dead doctors don't lie. I don't know if you guys remember this, but about 30 years ago, 25 years ago, some guy bought a bunch of these Dead Doctors Don't Lie tapes and started mailing them everywhere. How many of you guys know that? Some of you guys are too young to remember this. Yeah, but they were coming in like every couple of days. You get a tape in the mail. Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Some guy in Colorado, I believe, or maybe Kansas, he bought a bunch of tapes, like thousands and thousands and thousands, and started mailing them out. And I pulled out one day, because I was doing talks, and I thought, okay, well, let's see what this guy has to say. And I put it in, and boom! Oh my God! This voice comes out of the boom. I had a boom box at the time. This boom box. I'm dating myself here. The voice comes out of the boom box, and it's like, Moses on Mount Sinai or something. It's like God coming from the heavens, and he's talking about selenium, and he's talking about glucosamine, and he's talking about soil depletion, and he's talking about nutrient deficiencies. And I knew all this stuff. I've been talking about all this stuff. I learned it from pharmacy school. It's stuff I'd learned. I saw the power of nutrition. I'm like, who is this guy? Oh my God, this guy is a genius. He's brilliant. And plus he had that delivery. Have you guys heard the Dead Doctors Don't Lie tape? It's amazing, right? And he had this delivery. And so one day I'm in the gym, I'm working out, and my friend Russ, he's spotting me. I'm telling him about this tape. And he looks down and he goes, you mean Dr. Wallach? I know Dr. Wallach. Like, what? You know that guy? And I'm like, oh yeah, he comes to Colorado all the time. And sure enough, Dr. Wallach used to come to Colorado all the time because he was starting his multi-level company, his distributing company, and he was a regular in Colorado. And he's like, you want to meet him? Like, are you kidding me? Heck yeah, I want to meet him. And sure enough, one day I'm working in my pharmacy, which is a laboratory pharmacy, and they had these glass doors where, you could see out, but you couldn't see in. And there's Dr. Wallach, sure enough, walking up the stairs with a little cowboy hat on, and he was probably in his, he's in his 50s or 60s, probably early 60s or something. And we hit it off. He talked to me, and he must have thought he was talking to his doppelganger or something, because I was repeating back everything I'd heard. I'd listened to his tape so much. And then he asked me if I wanted to be he said he had a radio show, and he said, when I travel, sometimes would you like to do my radio show? I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? And sure enough, I ended up doing his radio show, and I started doing talks for longevity, and that's what we're here today to talk about, is the idea that you can use nutritional supplements to activate the healing properties, to reduce the sympathetic activity, and to activate the parasympathetic activity. And in fact, as I said earlier, at the end of the day, we don't die from anything but nutritional deficiency. Cells don't get fed. Cancer is when cancer cells suck up all the nutrients. When we take drugs, the nutrients are depleted in order to process the drugs. You ain't going to get it from the foods. The foods today have been artificially constructed. They don't even call them processed foods anymore. You know what they call them? Bioengineered. Well, they are bioengineered. They call them ultra-processed food because they're actually made from things that themselves are processed. They have another term for them. They call them ultra-processed foods. And these ultra-processed foods are designed to be hyper-palatable. Hyper-palatability is a thing. You know what that means? Palatability is how something tastes. Hyper-palatability is when they figure out the chemistry that's going on and make something taste good, and they amp it up. They have a place in Philadelphia called the Menel Institute where they have the greatest PhDs in the world and biochemists in the world figuring out what it takes to make your brain go, yippee! And they have chemicals now that they can put on dog crap, and your brain will go, yippee! When you eat it. They're called excitotoxins. Have you ever heard the term excitotoxin? An excitotoxin is a chemical that makes your brain go yippee, but it's toxic. It kills your brain cells. And they know exactly what to put in the food. In fact, when you unwrap your next McDonald's hamburger or whatever it is, that unwrapping, that itself makes your brain go yippee. It thinks it's Christmas and you're unwrapping a present. Right? Tell me that doesn't happen the next time you open up a McDonald's hamburger. Tell me you're not unwrapping and thinking deep down in the recesses of your brain that you're 5 years old and it's Christmas. That's what happens. And when you open up the package and it goes psh, like that activates crunch chemistry. Our brains are hardwired to like crunch. Think about all the foods we love. They're crunch. The brain loves crunch. And even the opening of a package has been planned out to activate crunch chemistry in your brain. That's how evil these geniuses are. That's what you're facing. That's what we're facing. These black magicians, these sorcerers. This is what we're facing. So it's no wonder that we can't stop eating. But here's the thing. When you give your body the good stuff, it doesn't want the bad stuff.
That's right.
Try this. Next time you're sitting down to eat your favorite meal, which you know you shouldn't be eating, pizza or McDonald's or whatever it is, try having some celery first. And see if that doesn't cut into your desire for that hamburger.
Yep.
Try starting your meals off with vegetables. See if that doesn't cut your craving for whatever your favorite food is. It will, because when you give the body the good stuff, it doesn't want the bad stuff. That's the wisdom of the body. That's the genius, the divine intelligence. It knows where you want to go. You know, you have a little, right? I do these talks all the time, and when I started doing these talks, I noticed that I would do these talks, and I could see this in my imagination, people's ears going, boop, 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 like this, honing in, just like you guys do this. You're honing in on the truth. We have truth detectors. And we have BS detectors too. We know truth, we know BS, we don't trust it. We don't trust the intelligence, the wisdom, the power in the body that will tell us to go here and not go there. That will tell us to have this and not have that. Meet this person, not that person. You know, don't go to this party, go to this meeting. Whatever it is, we have a wisdom built into the body. When we give it the good stuff, it's not going to want the bad stuff. Right. And this is why one of the first things that happens when you start a longevity program, as Rebecca can testify to, or Debbie can testify to, you lose weight. Once you start giving your body the nutrients it needs, it's not going to want the calories. You see, there's two kinds of substances to foods. We never make this distinction. There's nutrients and there's calories. Usually throughout history, we haven't had to worry about that because wherever there were calories, there were nutrients. But about 150 years ago, we figured out how to separate them. We figured out how to get calories without nutrients. And because the body never really learned to interpret the need for nutrients, it assumes that calories and nutrients go together. So when the body needs nutrients, it sends us out for calories, thinking they're going to go together. And we go get calories. What does calorie mean? What does the word calor mean? Spanish people, what does the word calor mean? Heat. Calories, heat. A calorie is a unit of heat. The body doesn't like heat. Just like your iPhone doesn't like heat. You ever leave your iPhone on the front seat of your car? What happens after it's in the sun for 15 or 20 minutes? It shuts down, right? Your iPhone doesn't like heat. You have to have a fan in your computer. Your computer doesn't like heat. You got a fan in your engine doesn't like, in your car, your engine doesn't like heat. High-tech machinery doesn't like heat. What's more high-tech than the body? The body likes cold, cool. Every time you put a calorie in the body, it's heat. The body has to mobilize chemistry to cool things down. Part of that is insulin that we talked about. Nutrients, on the other hand, help the body use calories. These distinctions, by the way, you can think of, I talk about as macronutrition. Things you need lots of, protein, fats, and carbohydrates. They contain calories. And micronutrition, no calories in micronutrition. Micronutrition's job, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, nutrient's job is to help your body use the macronutrients, to help your body process the calories. When you get calories without micronutrients, your body says, what the heck? I got all these calories now. What am I going to do with them? So it has a very sophisticated biochemical, biological, physiological mechanism for taking care of those calories and storing them away. The body likes to store things. You know what we call that sophisticated biochemical mechanism for taking the calories, which are heat, and storing them so they don't burn things? We call it our fat butts. That's what we call it. That's what our body fat is. Our body fat is calories that have been stored because they're not used. Because the body doesn't have the raw materials, because it's the protein, or it's the aminos, and the fatty acids, and the vitamins, and the minerals that help you use the calories. Micronutrients' job is to help you use the macronutrients. When you get macronutrients without micronutrients, the body doesn't know what to do with it. But if you get micronutrients with your macronutrients, now your body can work with the macronutrients, derive energy from the macronutrients, and you don't eat as much. And so when people start supplementing, they're not as hungry. Right? And so one of the things that happens when you start a longevity program is you start to lose weight. You notice you lose weight, and it's not even hard. The body does it. It just drops. Because now your body can work with the macronutrients. And our obesity epidemic is largely because we're not getting the micronutrients to help us use the macronutrients. This is what Dr. Wallach's genius was. He saw that we're suffering as a culture from micronutrient deficiencies. And what longevity does is it replaces the micronutrients to help you use the macronutrients. And you will be able to prove this for yourself because you will not be as hungry. And it won't take long. It'll take 2 days to do it. The micronutrients, we call them the mighty 90 essential nutrients. And the word essential in the world of nutrition means you better have it, like air. Air is essential. What happens if you don't have air? You die. What happens if you don't have essential nutrients? You die. Except you don't just die, you degenerate. Your body breaks down over time. It doesn't just kill you. You don't just go into death, you break down. We call that aging. Aging is largely the end result of the body breaking down, and it's accelerated by a lack of micronutrients. And all of our disease states, our chronic degenerative disease states, are nothing more than accelerated aging. We're aging much faster than we need to. And one of the reasons we're aging much faster than we need to, whether it's manifesting itself as a full-blown disease or just as wrinkles, one of the reasons is a lack of the micronutrients in our diets. And the good news is we can take care of that. And that's what we do at Longevity. We help people replace the micronutrients that should be in the food, the vitamins, the minerals, the aminos, and the fatty acids, the mighty 90 essential nutrients. And they should be in the food, and I wish they were in the food. And sometimes people actually say to me, oh, I get everything I need from food. No, you don't. I wish you did. I wish we lived in the Garden of Eden. We could just pick the apple or the pear or whatever it is off the tree and just eat it and have everything that it needs. But we don't live in the Garden of Eden. We live on Earth in 2023, and it's not a good thing in terms of the kind of things, that the nutrients that are in the foods we should be eating. So learning to leverage the power of a micronutrient supplement program is critical. Now, the macronutrients are also important. Protein is important, and protein is, there's 3 macronutrients. There's protein, there's fats, and there's carbohydrates. But carbohydrates are there's protein, fat, and sugar. But fat and sugar are carbohydrates. So there's really just protein and carbohydrates. Do you guys get that? Sugar and fat are both carbohydrates. From a biochemical perspective, sugar and fats are both carbohydrates. The difference between sugar and fat is a fat just has a bunch of sugar in it. Protein is the leading man. Protein is so fascinating from a biochemical perspective because guess what? While there's protein, so here, let's see if you can do this. I don't have a blackboard here. You got protein, you got fat, and you got sugar. Good? Fat and sugar are both carbohydrates, so really you got protein and carbohydrates. Protein is really a carbohydrate, except for one thing. The difference between a protein and a carbohydrate is this really, really cool little element. Are you a chemist? You keep shaking your head there. Okay. There's this one really cool little element that is the most explosive element that is in our environment in a large amount. In fact, most of the air is made up of this element. Super explosive stuff. And it especially makes things grow. Because growth is kind of like, from a biochemical perspective, is a little mini explosion when something grows. Farmers know what this element is, and they'll sprinkle it on their soil. In fact, one of the greatest inventions of the 20th century, maybe of all time, was the ability to take this element from the air, because the air is mostly made up of this element, and squish it into a pellet. And it took an amazing amount of technology to do that. The guy won the Nobel Prize for figuring this out. His name was Fritz Haber. He figured out how to take this element from the air and squish it into a tiny little ball that you could stick on a pellet. And this stuff was so explosive that if you had a bunch of these pellets, you could actually cause a massive explosion. And some guy actually did this. Some guy in Oklahoma City in the 1990s, he took a bunch of these pellets that were created from this stuff in the air that had been squished together, that was super, super explosive, and he blew apart half a federal building Do you know what I'm talking about? Right? What was that little element? What did he use to blow up the building? He filled his truck with this stuff. Not hydrogen. Fertilizer. Fertilizer is nothing more than this element that's been taken from the air, squished into a pellet. Now, it's interesting this guy won the Nobel Prize for figuring out how to do that, but bacteria can do it. They don't need to know. They do it as part of their chemistry. And farmers know that they better have those bacteria in the soil. They better have those bacteria in the soil in order to grow their plants. They call them nitrogen-fixing bacteria. Anybody ever hear that term, nitrogen-fixing bacteria? And that element that we're talking about is nitrogen. Protein is different from carbohydrates only because it has this explosive nitrogen associated with it, and bodybuilders and weightlifters always have their nitrogen checked to see if they're retaining nitrogen or excreting nitrogen. If you go to the local hospital, you'll find people are retaining nitrogen so they can recover. Hopefully they're getting enough protein in order to do that. Nitrogen is so powerful that if you take glycerin, which is just sugar, you can drink glycerin. Glycerin's in cough syrup, it's in foods. And you stick nitrogen on it, what do you get? Nitroglycerin. Exactly. Nitrogen is that explosive. Nitrogen is amazing, amazing stuff. So eating protein gives you explosive power. It gives you horsepower. And eating protein is very, very important. But the sugars, or the carbohydrates, I should say, help your body use the protein. And whenever you have protein, the fats and the carbohydrates' job is to help you utilize that protein, to give you the energy so your digestive system can work. And this is why you want to make sure that you're eating all the food groups, protein, fats, and carbohydrates. But nothing works without the micronutrients. These protein, fats, and carbs are extremely important. They're going to give you your calories. But you don't need a lot of them. The average person eats about 1,000 to 1,200 calories a day. The average person eats about 3,000 to 5,000 calories a day. One of the best things you could do to improve your longevity, to improve your health quickly, is go calorie light, calorie restriction. In fact, there's a diet called the calorie restriction with optimum nutrition diet, the Cron diet. So eating less calories improves longevity. The only way that we've ever seen, that scientists ever seen to improve longevity is to go calorie restriction. It's the only replicated way of improving longevity is calorie restriction. And the best way to do that is to make sure you're supplementing with micronutrients. All the micronutrients, there's 90 of them, like I say, vitamins, fatty acids, amino acids, and minerals are all found in what we call the Healthy Start Pack. And if you want a client or you yourself to notice results quickly, and by quickly I'm talking about weight loss, or by results I'm talking about weight loss, I'm talking about energy levels, I'm talking about being able to get yourself off of all the drugs that you're taking, and to improve the symptoms of all your chronic degenerative diseases, which at the end of the day are due to malnutrition, problems with oxygenation, stagnation, and not understanding the power of rest. All of them based in the relationship between fear and safety. If you want to notice quick results, get on the Healthy Start Pack. Get on the Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients. And it's not because of us, it's because of you. Because your body's designed to work this way. You can get supplements. There's a lot of places to get supplements. You all know there's zillions of places to get supplements. What longevity does is put it all into a package. Into a simple package. It's called the Healthy Start Pack. It's got all the nutrients you need. And if you want to just experience something quickly, just use the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Just that. And if you're a distributor in longevity, carry the packets with you. If you're a guest who came today, try it. Try it just for 3 days. Try the Beyond Tangy Tangerine for 3 days. You tell me if you're not dealing with a chronic degenerative disease that you don't feel better. It's impossible not to. Just the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, just for 3 days, let alone the Healthy Start Pack. Now, the Healthy Start Pack's the core of everything, but there are satellite products around it for the digestive system, and for the blood sugar system, and for the cardiovascular system, and for longevity, and for the brain. They're all built, and for immune problems. They're all built around what's called the Healthy Start Pack, which is the Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients. They all work not because of us, they all work because of you. Because your body has a healing system that is built into it. It knows what to do. It just needs the conditions. It needs to have the soil so it can grow the tree. The Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients function as the raw material so the soil can be strong so the tree can grow. You can't take care of the fruit until you take care of the root. What longevity is about is helping you take care of the root. And it's not just nutritional supplementation. Yes, you are going to find a complete nutritional supplement protocol for any health challenge that you might have. But the magic is in us. It's in our bodies. It's in our cells, because the divine wisdom wants us to be healthy. We are leaving health on the table. We're leaving longevity on the table. We are leaving joie de vivre, joy for life, on the table, because we're setting the bar so low on our health, because we're not told that the body has a wisdom that is built into it. We're told that you're going to be on this drug the rest of your life. We're told we don't know what causes cancer. We're told it's in your genetics. Oh my God, if I hear anybody say that one more time, I'm going to kill somebody. It's in your genes. It's not in your genes. And you do not have to be on the drug for the rest of your life. And if you are on a prescription drug, your number one health challenge should be to figure out how to get off of it. And we can help you do that. Longevity can help you do that. Your distributors can help you do that. I have a radio program where I talk about all of this stuff twice a week, on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. It's called The Bright Side. If you Google my name, you'll get a million different things on different talks and events and all kinds of stuff that I've done. I've got a blog, pharmacistben.com. I write on criticalhealthnews.com. I am dedicated to your health and wellness. Your longevity rep is dedicated to your health and wellness, and your wealth as well. And if you guys are business builders, if you want to help, if you're the kind of person that wants to help somebody, this is the perfect opportunity. It's a platform that will allow you to express your love for your fellow man, to make a difference in their life at the most fundamental and basic level there is. Not just their wealth, but their health. Their wealth, for sure, if you do it right, you can make a significant income. This could be your only job, as many people know. But with the body, my people perish for lack of knowledge. It's a lack of understanding of how our bodies work at the end of the day. And so if you're in the longevity business, you're a teacher, you're an educator, and you don't have to know a lot. You don't have to go to medical school. You just have to know how the whole thing is put together. Did I say anything that was medical here? No. Did I say anything hard to understand? You need a degree for it. Did I say anything that didn't make sense? Does anybody have any disagreements? No. It's just logic, because the body is eminently logical. Because logic is part of wisdom, and the body is eminently wise. And wisdom is part of divinity, and the body is ultimately a divine entity that wants to be healthy, that knows how to be healthy, just has to have the raw materials to do its work. So thank you so much, you guys. I hope that was educational. I hope that was informative. I will stay as long as you guys need to ask specific questions. If you have questions, I want to show you how simple it is to address the health challenges without going into any complicated diagnostic doctorese that you might feel uncomfortable with. Anybody can do this. Yes?
What's the one thing you would recommend from longevity for gut health?
Great. Gut health. What's your name?
Belen?
Belen. So Belen says, what's the one thing you do for gut health? Well, there isn't one thing, but luckily longevity's got a whole bunch of things for the gut. First of all, you want to populate those bacteria. Nightly Essence. Nightly Essence is a bacterial formula that has multiple strains of bacteria plus enzymes. And speaking of enzymes, the next thing you need is digestive enzymes. And longevity has a product called Ultimate Enzymes. The Ultimate Enzymes have some really neat things about them. First of all, as a pharmacist, what I look for in nutritional supplementation is multifunctionality. Multifunctionality means you get a lot of function from one thing, right? In drugs, you take a drug, you may lower your blood pressure, but you're going to cause a lot of toxicity and side effects. With nutrition, you lower your blood pressure, but you get lots of benefits. So I'm always looking for all the different benefits you get with a supplement, and the Ultimate Enzymes from longevity exemplify the multifunctionality of supplementation better than anything else. I'll tell you why. Obviously, the Ultimate Enzymes are digestive enzymes, so they help you digest. That's their job. And one of the things that happens as we get older is we don't make enough enzymes in our digestive system. The food doesn't get broken down as effectively, and that causes problems downstream, which is where the intestine is. So having food broken down effectively at the level of the stomach before it gets into the intestine is a very important function, and enzymes control that. And as we age, we don't make as many enzymes. So using the Ultimate Enzymes can help replace the enzymes, and that's the next most important thing. But whenever you use your Ultimate Enzymes, you want to make sure there's something acidic that you're taking your Ultimate Enzymes with to activate the enzymes. So I like noni juice. I was recently told there's no noni product. Is that true? Sad news.
Well, the Hope has noni in it.
No, it has to be acidic. Goji's not quite. cranberry. I like apple cider vinegar, but apple cider vinegar. I recommend it. So always do with apple cider vinegar. But here's the cool thing about enzymes. I like multifunctionality. The ultimate enzymes for longevity will help you with back pain. They'll help you with dental pain. They'll help your blood flow more effectively. Remember we talked about the circulatory system and how you're generating electrical charges. Ultimate enzymes help break up blood clots. That's slow, and they help improve the movement of blood. One of the big problems that we have with this latest viral thing is blood problems, thick blood. This is how this virus affects causes many of its adverse effects are through making the blood sluggish. Ultimate enzymes are one of the best things you could do if you're dealing with that viral infection. Also, with the supposed treatment for the viral infection, that also causes the blood to become sticky and sludgy. Remember, the blood has to move so it can generate electrical charges. It also has to move so it can deliver oxygen, deliver nutrients, and detoxify. All disease is the end result of a cellular dysfunction. All disease is cell disease, but it all starts from blood that's sticky and sludgy, that isn't moving correctly. And anything you do to improve the movement of blood, including movement, including breathing, and including using your ultimate enzymes, will improve the health of all of the cells of the body. So using the ultimate enzymes is a very important circulatory supplement. And it's important for pain issues. And it's one of the best things you can use pre-surgery and post-surgery because it accelerates healing by suppressing bruising. The ultimate, a bruise is when blood is all pooled up. The ultimate enzymes taken pre-surgery for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks and taken post-surgery. And by the way, all these extra benefits, the anti-pain benefits, the circulatory benefits, the accelerated healing benefits, require that you take your ultimate enzymes on an empty stomach. If you take them with food, they're going to digest your food, which is good. But if you want to leverage these other benefits, improved healing post-surgery, improved circulation, reduction in pain, you want to take your ultimate enzymes on an empty stomach. Okay? So,
Bruising too?
what's that?
Bruising?
Absolutely, for injury bruising. Not if you have a lot of times people will just bruise from connective tissue dysfunction. Then you got to build the connective tissue. But if it's an injury of some kind, yes, you'll accelerate healing from all bruising with the ultimate enzymes. Talk about multifunctionality. Then we have another product called the Daily Digest, which is really cool. That came out just a couple years ago, and that has a bunch of digestive supplements in a daily packet that you can rip open and do every day. A new product that came out that's a great digestive product is called the Ultimate Microbiome, which supports the microbiome. Raise of hands, who's selling longevity products now? Okay, so you guys have all heard of that's it? So you guys have all heard of these products I'm talking about, the Ultimate Microbiome? Are you selling longevity products? The Ultimate Microbiome. And then there's the super cool, and I didn't get a chance to talk about this condition. You know, you guys, I hope you understand, I just scratched the surface here. There is so much more fun stuff to talk about, and that's why the health program that Rebecca does, I'll give a plug for the health coach program. Rebecca actually has a class, and I think Debi too is in it, where they teach people all of these things. And really, not only is learning this stuff important for your business, learning about longevity, it's important for your life. And not only is it important for your life, it's fun. We all live in a body. You know, we should know how we can take advantage of all the wonderful things our body does if we know how our body works. So listen to my program, The Bright Side. I talk about this all every weekend. And then there's also the health program. So there's this other, back to what I was saying, there's this other supplement, and I'm trying to think of how I want to say this because I don't want to digress too much to talk about this one health challenge that is the core of, I said earlier how there's 3 breakdowns that lead to everything else. Well, there's one breakdown that's first. And I sort of touched on it, but I didn't really give you as much information as I could have. So let me just tell you real quickly. So we talked about the bacteria, right? How important the bacteria are. The bacteria in the body live in the large intestine. You have a small intestine, which is the center, and then around it you have the large intestine, and then everything goes out the body, right? So you eat a food, it goes into your stomach does all the little work, and then it drops into the small intestine. And as soon as it goes into the small intestine, from the stomach, it gets hit with a blast of bile from the gallbladder and pancreatic juices. And the blast of bile and the pancreatic juices really get the digestive mass. It's called chyme, technically. It gets the chyme all dissolved, and then the nutrients get absorbed in the small intestine, and then they go into the large intestine. And all the bacteria that we talked about, how important the bacteria are for making hormones and vitamins and genetics, they live in the large intestine. and some live in the small intestine. However, if you don't have enough stomach acid, and many people do not make enough stomach acid, if you do not have enough bile, and many people have their gallbladders removed or their livers aren't working as well as they should and they're not making enough bile, or if you're chronically constipated, or if you're eating the wrong foods, or if you're taking Nexium or Prilosec that suppresses stomach acid, what will happen is bacteria will start to overgrow. And they'll overgrow from the large intestine into the small intestine, where you should not have bacteria, or at least not a lot of bacteria. Why do you suppose you don't want a lot of bacteria in the small intestine, but you do in the large? Think.
Fallen area?
What? Close.
Gets into the bloodstream.
Well, that's another good thing too, that can get into the bloodstream. Very good. There's food in the small intestine. There's nutrients in the small intestine. The bacteria can proliferate in the small intestine. When bacteria proliferate in the small intestine, they start to secrete things, chemicals. And one of the most important secretions of these bacteria in the small intestine is something called histamine. And histamine, you all heard of histamine, right? You have hay fever, you have allergies, you take an antihistamine. Well, it turns out that histamine is responsible for a whole slew of health challenges, including autoimmune diseases, including reproductive health challenges, including Parkinson's disease. And so these secretions from and neurological diseases and dementia, and suppressed immunity, and cancer, and heart disease, and everything else. So when I talked about the first point in the triangle of disease, what I didn't tell you is that there's a condition that affects the small intestine where bacteria overgrow. This bacterial overgrowth causes secretion of various chemicals like histamine, as well as inflammation in the intestine, which causes stuff to get into the blood inappropriately. That's called leaky gut. And it all comes from excessive bacteria in the small intestine. This condition of excessive bacteria in the small intestine is called SIBO. Anybody ever hear of SIBO? Yeah. SIBO stands for small intestine bacterial overgrowth. And it is the cause of everything. And I didn't tell you this because I didn't want to digress too much when I said the intestine is the first point in the triangle of disease, but really it's the SIBO. That's the first point on the triangle of disease. So killing off those bacteria, if you're dealing with menstrual problems, reproductive problems, heart disease, dementias, Parkinson's disease, whatever the health challenge, taking care of the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is your first most important thing to do. We talked about some of the causes. One of the causes is poor stomach acid, so using apple cider vinegar, using your ultimate enzymes to support stomach acid production. We talked about bile, so using things that help support bile, like the ultimate enzymes, which contain bile salts in them, like Dr. Ariaza's liver cleanse. I don't know how many of you guys are working with Dr. Ariaza. Dr. Ariaza's liver cleanse. Anything you can do to support bile production will improve SIBO. Also, laying off specific classes of foods that feed bacteria. They're called FODMAPs foods. Yes, FODMAPs stands. It's a very complicated acronym. But it basically means fermentable sugars, which are found in avocados, which are found in onions, which are found in garlic and turnips, or not turnips, but garlic, which are found in pears and apples and bananas. These FODMAP foods are in the good foods. So you may say, well, I'm gluten-free. But it doesn't matter, because if you're eating FODMAPs and you have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, you're going to be secreting histamine whether you're gluten-free or not. So learning about the FODMAPs foods is critical. And making sure you're regular. We talked about constipation earlier. When you're constipated, the food just sits there, and the bacteria have an all-you-can-eat feast. They have an all-you-can-eat buffet and plenty of time to do it, you know? So keeping everything moving is important. You know, you have a complex of electrical energy that runs through your digestive system. And this complex of electrical energy propels food through the digestive system and out your body. And it's important that this complex of electrical energy is constantly working. This complex of electrical energy is called the migrating motor complex, the MMC. This MMC is electrical. And the one thing that you guys get how important the MMC is. You want it to work. You want it propulsing food or improving propulsion of food. So you want that MMC working. The MMC is activated by fasting. When you don't eat, the MMC does its work, because when you're eating, you don't want the MMC, you want to be able to have the food there. One of the worst things we do is graze all day long. If you're constipated, you want to stop eating for a day. How many of you guys fasted for a day and noticed that you had the best bowel movement ever and you didn't eat all day? Right? Because the MMC was kicking in. You guys have all heard of the MMC. You all heard the MMC. You know what the MMC sounds like? The MMC sounds like a growling in your tummy. And that growling in your tummy is your body cleaning itself out like a self-cleaning dishwasher. But what do we do when we hear the growling in our tummy? We do the worst thing you could possibly do and shut it down, right? Because we think that means we're hungry. No, it doesn't. It means you're cleaning. You're cleaning everything out. The body you've got to be very careful with food. To the body, food is the enemy. Yes, you need food. It has a love-hate relationship with food. It's like the man in your life, ladies. You know? No, I'm just kidding. It wants food, it needs food, but it doesn't need it all the time. Fasting is so important. Laying off of food is so important. Your body cleans itself out. It doesn't just clean itself out on the macro scale, the digestive system, by activating the MMC. It also cleans itself out on the micro scale. There's a process called autophagy, where the body cleans out dead cells and dysfunctional cells and gets rid of them. And when you fast, you activate autophagy. Fasting is one of the most important health strategies you could ever do, and it doesn't cost you a penny. You save money. Right? So the less you eat, the longer you live, and intermittent fasting, and by the way, if you're doing the ketogenic diet, that's one of the best ways you could eat, as long as you don't have a problem with, well, even still, the ketogenic, do you guys know what the ketogenic diet is, right? The ketogenic diet is what?
It's low in carbs.
Low in carbs.
High in fat.
High in fat.
Protein.
Moderate protein, right? What's the most important part, though? You didn't say that. The most important part.
Well, the fats are very healthy.
No. The most
important.
important. Nope.
Oh, then it has to be the other.
No, it's not.
Oh.
It's not.
Well, you need micronutrients.
You do need micronutrients, but that's not the most important part. Close. The most important part of the ketogenic diet. How many of you guys are doing the ketogenic diet?
It creates ketosis.
It does create ketosis, but how many people are doing the ketogenic diet? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Come on. What, just one person? That's it? Okay, do you guys know about the ketogenic diet? How many of you guys know about the ketogenic diet? Raise your hand. Or heard of the ketogenic diet?
It's his fault I'm not doing it.
This guy's fault? I know this. Have I met you? I know this guy. I see.
The reason I've been able to keep all my weight off is
Ketogenic diet. So here's the most important part of the ketogenic diet. Yes, you're right. It's high fat and it's low carb. And then they say moderate protein, but that's hard. But the most important part is low calorie. It's the calories that are key. The body doesn't like calories. And while 80% of your calories or so should come from fat in the ketogenic diet, it's 80% of 1,000 calories. That's 800 calories, right? A Big Mac is over 1,000 calories. Many of the foods we eat throw us over where we want to be in calories with just one food. A piece of cheesecake at the Cheesecake Factory is like 1,500 or 1,600 calories. And you're talking about we only want 1,000 or 1,200 a day. This is the kind of overeating that we do. And the ketogenic diet is an awesome diet, but the low-calorie part is very, very important. So this condition, the SIBO condition that we talked about, is fed by FODMAPs. It's exacerbated by chronic eating, or grazing, they used to call it. It's amplified or even initiated by problems at the level of stomach acid and bile. And killing off those bacteria become very important. If you go to a naturopath or if you go to a medical doctor, these days they don't, they're starting to learn more about SIBO. Regular medical doctors, they'll do a breath test for SIBO. They'll actually give you a drink, a sugar drink, and then they'll test your breath. And if you have SIBO, methane will come out. Or hydrogen sulfide will come out, because that's the stuff that the bacteria are making, and then they'll diagnose it. And they'll give you an antibiotic to kill the bacteria, because that's what doctors do. They like giving you antibiotics to kill the bacteria. Of course, what does that do? That kills all the bacteria, right? And you can't rip on the doctors for doing it. If you go to a carpenter and he's got a hammer and a nail, and you tell him to fix your car, your engine, your transmission, he's going to take the hammer and nail and try to fix the transmission. He's going to destroy the transmission or the engine, and this is what doctors do. They have their tools that they work with. If you go to a doctor, you get a hammer and nail. That's the tools that they use. If you go to a naturopath, they'll give you essential oils. Essential oil of peppermint, essential oil of oregano, essential oil of thyme. These essential oils will kill off bacteria, and you can drink essential oils to kill bacteria. You can also use one of my favorite longevity products, which is called I-26. And that's another one that you can use. I-26 is an antibacterial egg powder. that specifically kills excess bacteria in the intestine. Everybody who's dealing with a chronic health challenge should be on I-26. And I-26 is another one of those really important digestive supplements. It's really cool how they make the I-26. I won't get into it, but the process of making what's called hyperimmune egg, I'll get you a second. Hyperimmune egg is really very effective. So you can also do support bile secretion with Dr. Aria's liver cleanse. The ultimate enzymes have bile salts in them. Anything that you can do to support health at the level of the digestive system via stomach acid, the gallbladder and the liver, via bile, and the movement of food through the migrating motor complex, and then killing off bacteria will also support intestinal health and reduce the symptoms of dysbiosis. Okay? There's tons. We focus a lot on digestive health. Thank you for your question. Yes?
How do you test for insulin?
You have to ask for it. It's a blood test, and it's expensive, relatively expensive, and you have to ask for it. But most doctors don't want to do it because it is relatively expensive, and they don't really understand the power of insulin. But it's a blood test.
What's it called?
It's called the insulin test, blood insulin test. But you can assume if you have the symptoms of hyperinsulinemia, which involve body fat, especially visceral fat, fat in the belly area or in the hip area, if you gained weight, if you're 10 or 20 pounds past your high school weight, you can assume that you have hyperinsulinemia issues. And if you have any kind of full-blown disease state, you can assume there's hyperinsulinemia. It's best just to assume and treat yourself like a diabetic. I would say treat yourself like a diabetic. Whether you've been diagnosed or not, treat yourself like a diabetic. And Longevity has wonderful supplements specifically for blood sugar. And I don't know how much time, how are you guys doing for time here? Because I know I'm digressing a lot, and I know we have to leave.
What time do you have?
Well, I got to leave here pretty soon. But let me tell you, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you this one thing. And I'll answer all your questions. There is a vitamin that Longevity puts a bunch of in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. One of the worst things that we have in our culture that determines how much nutrients we need to stay healthy, one of the greatest impediments to our health is something called the RDAs. Have you guys heard of the RDAs? Everybody's heard of the RDAs, right? Say it louder. Recommended daily allowance. The recommended daily allowance is the amount of vitamin C the government says you need, and the amount of B1 and B3, et cetera, that the government says you need. But what they don't tell you is that's the amount you need to keep you from dying. That's not the amount you need to be vitally healthy. Because in fairness, the job of the medical professionals is to keep you alive. It's not to keep you thriving, it's just to keep you from dying. So the RDA is calibrated to death. How much do I need to prevent my death? Is that what we're satisfied with? I call the RDAs the ridiculous deprivation allowance. Because we believe that all we need is these trace amounts. We don't realize that we're leaving health on the table. What a micronutrient supplement program does is it pounds your body with micronutrients. Especially one of the most underappreciated, maybe the most underappreciated micronutrient of all, for the digestive system especially, which is a micronutrient that was actually the first micronutrient. You know, the discovery of micronutrients represented this amazing scientific achievement when they saw that there was something in food that was not related to calories, but that was important for health. That was amazing. This happened at the turn of the 20th century. We take it for granted now. It's 120 years later. We take it for granted that, oh, you just take a vitamin, of course, you know. Back then, there's this magic in the food that if you ate the food, all of a sudden you wouldn't have a disease. They was like, what the heck is going on in this food? And they started to study the food. And this is at the turn of the 20th century. What actually happened was, at the turn of the 20th century, the great empires, the United States and the UK and Spain, were going around the world into parts of the world that no Europeans had gone to, like in New Guinea and in the Philippines and in Asia. And these were still people living indigenously, and they came over to that part of the world in order to conquer it and to make it part of the empire, etc. But while they were living there, they had to survive. And what they noticed was that when they brought their food from Europe, their favorite foods from Europe, and the natives who were now working for the Europeans would eat the food, the natives would start to get sick. And they'd never been sick before. And they said, what is going on in the food? And one of the foods they love to eat, that Europeans love to eat, Europeans love things to be white. Go figure, right? Europeans love white. There's something about white, right? White is right. White is good, you know? So brown, not so good. White is good. So one of the things they did was they made the food white. They figured out how to make the food white, right? Because white is good. Brown is that. Natives, brown. Europeans, white. We want white. So they took the food and they whitened it. Yeah, they took off all the brown stuff. Well, guess what? The brown stuff is the powerful stuff, right? The white stuff doesn't have the power. It doesn't have the micronutrients. The brown stuff is the micronutrients. The white stuff is the calories. So all the natives were eating the calories and not getting the micronutrients. And they were starting to get sick. And one of the worst diseases they got was a disease where they couldn't move. Their body couldn't move. Their digestive system couldn't move. Their heart didn't move correctly. Their muscles didn't move correctly. They didn't feel like getting out of bed. They got this disease that in Swahili, which was the language they were speaking at the time I think it was Indonesia, they used the term in Swahili for what was in English, I can't, I can't. And in Swahili, I can't is beriberi. And beriberi is a disease where the body's nervous system doesn't work. You get pain in your toes and in your fingers. That's called peripheral neuropathy. Your digestive system doesn't move. The migrating motor complex slows down. You get heart disease. You don't process foods correctly. And these people were getting beriberi and they couldn't get out of bed. They couldn't move. They were chronically constipated. They had terrible pain all over their body, peripheral neuropathies. And they said, what the heck is going on? They said, wait a minute. All these people are having these diseases. They're eating the white rice. So maybe there's something in the polishings, the brown stuff. And they started to do some research on the brown stuff, and lo and behold, they found when they gave the brown stuff to people who had beriberi, their beriberi went away. Wow. So they started to break down the food, and they said, there's this molecule in there, and they named the molecule a vitamin. Vita means life, amine means has a nitrogen in it, the biochemistry of it, they named it a vitamin, and it became the first vitamin, which is vitamin B1, which is thiamine. And vitamin B1 thiamine is a treatment for peripheral neuropathy, for constipation, for heart disease, for blood sugar issues, and nobody knows about it. Because all you need is 1 milligram to keep you from getting beriberi. So you won't get beriberi, but you may be constipated all the time. Or you may have heart problems, you may have peripheral neuropathies. Thiamine helps your body use sugar, so diabetics need more thiamine. If you have, if you drink alcohol, that lowers your thiamine. Because alcohol is like a sugar, and thiamine is important for sugar metabolism. In fact, if you see alcoholics out on Skid Row somewhere, and they're drinking, you know, whatever they're drinking, and they're talking to pink leprechauns and elephants, and, you know, they have a condition called alcoholic psychosis, also known as Werner-Korsakoff syndrome. It's really a thing. When you talk to pink elephants, it's a disease. It's delusions, alcoholic delusions. And you go to the hospital, you go to the hangover or the detox place. What's the first thing they put in your blood for alcoholic psychosis? Thiamine, right in your blood. It's the cure for alcoholic psychosis. But what about people who have dementia? What about people who have, they just forget things? What about people who have psychosis or schizophrenia? Maybe they're dealing with thiamine deficiency. What about people who have chronic constipation or peripheral neuropathy or diabetes or heart disease? These are all signs of thiamine deficiency. Vitamin B1, one of the coolest things about Youngevity supplements is the thiamine, the mega dose of the thiamine in your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. If you do nothing else for a patient or a friend or a client who has any of these conditions, get them on Beyond Tangy Tangerine and get the right doses, the right amounts of it. The beautiful thing about Beyond Tangy Tangerine, by the way, is you pee out the excess, which is why you always want to take your Beyond Tangy Tangerine throughout the day. You don't want to do just one big bolt of it. Okay, now I don't even remember how I got to talking about that, but I hope I answered somebody's question. Whoever question that was. Was that your question? I forgot who asked the question, but.
I did have a question regarding that SIBO. I would like to know, did you say that to avoid the avocado garlic or to eat it?
That's a great question. What is your name?
I didn't know.
What is your name?
Teresa.
Teresa says, did I say to avoid the avocado? What I didn't say, and what I meant, I should have said, is always see what problems you have. Don't go by lists on the internet or somebody told you what's good and what's bad, what you think is good, what the doctor told you is good. Go by what happens to you. When you're having SIBO tested, you put some sugar in your mouth, and they test for gas, right? It happens right away. Okay. So eat an avocado and see how you feel. That's the answer. I'm not saying avocado. I'm not saying, but my point is, I'm not telling you what to do, but my point is it's not good or bad. It's how you interpret it, how you are feeling. Yes, always trust your body, and don't use your memory. Don't go by memory. Write it down. Do a food diary. If you have a chronic health challenge, write down the food, write down how you feel. Right away, an hour later, 2 hours later, 3 hours later. One of the things that the bacteria that cause SIBO do is they cause a hyperproliferation or a hypersecretion of histamine. Histamine will cause skin problems. So if you have SIBO, when you eat a food, you'll notice that you have rashes or itchiness or some kind of skin condition. Histamine, anything with histamine. It could be teary eyes. You could have the same kind of, you could eat a food and have the same kind of response that you do when you have hay fever. It's the same molecules, histamine. So go by how you feel. Yes, avocados are high in histamine. And by the way, seafood's also high in histamine and shellfish. So a lot of people who think they have shellfish allergies, really SIBO. Right? And the signs of gluten intolerance are very similar to the signs of SIBO. So you may think you have gluten intolerance, you're off of gluten, but your arthritis isn't going away. Or your skin's still messed up. Or whatever health challenge you have, you still have it. But I'm gluten-free. Well, it could be SIBO and histamine. It could be leaky gut. So you have to do your particular battles. See what your particular fight is. Write down everything. That's called doing a food diary. And everybody with a health challenge who wants to resolve it should do it. And not only that, let me just say this. I'll get you a sec. Let me just say this real quick. If you have a longevity business and you tell your customer, your client, do a food diary, 3 things are going to happen. Number 1, they're going to be vested in their health. You don't want to be just telling them what to do. You want a client who is vested, who's interested in their own health, who's participating in their own health. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, if they do it correctly, they're going to start to notice things. They're going to say, oh my God, every time I have this, I break out. They don't know this. You guys didn't even know this, a lot of you. Imagine how little people out there know. They're going to say, oh my God. They're going to see their choices are affecting their bodies. It's not genetics. It's not something that just happened. It's something I'm doing. That means I have control. And number 3, it's going to position you as an authority. Like you know what the heck you're talking about. Like you're making a difference in their lives. You're vesting your patient. They're seeing the connection between their lifestyle choices, and you're positioning yourself as an authority, as somebody who can help them, which is really at the end of the day what we're all about. The money's going to come. We help people. We improve people's lives. We give people hope. Money will come. And so I always tell people when you're starting a longevity business and you want to help your patient, have them do a food diary and have them start to eliminate problem foods. It changes lives. I hope I answered whoever's question that was. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, because I didn't get it if you just said to avoid.
I didn't say. I will never say avoid, except for sugar. Right. Except for sugar, that one's best avoided. But as far as foods go, you're on your own. Do a food diary.
And then another thing, when the liver enzymes are high.
When the what?
The liver enzymes.
Liver enzymes are high. What does that mean?
Pardon me?
You're asking what that means?
Yes.
Okay.
What we can.
What you can do. What you can do. Okay. Okay. So questions about liver enzymes. You ever hear your liver enzymes are high, right? So the liver is made up like everything else in the body of cells. Cells contain enzymes. Enzymes are molecules that do all the work inside of a cell. When your liver enzymes are high, that means liver cells are dying. When liver cells die, they spew out their enzymes. They spew out their chemistry, and the enzymes will be high in the blood. Then they'll say, oh my God, your liver enzymes are high. That means the liver's dying. Okay, so liver enzymes are high are a sign that the liver's dying. What does the liver do? Hundreds of things. Over 500 things. But the biggest problem with the liver is an excess of work. The liver is storing nutrients and detoxifying. When you give the body too many nutrients, it puts a lot of work on the liver. And the most important stressful nutrients are sugars. So the number 1 problem with the liver, with liver enzymes, high liver enzymes, is something called metabolic syndrome, which you may have heard of. Metabolic syndrome is a sugar problem. So immediately reducing the sugars. The number 2 issue is detoxification. So people who are on prescription drugs, people who are non-prescription drugs, people who drink a lot of alcohol, people who are smoking a lot of cigarettes, people who are breathing in toxins from the environment where they work perhaps, those are going to be people who have problems with the liver. So liver issues, high liver enzymes, are a sign that the liver is overworked, it's stressed out, it's dying. That's usually a result of toxicity or excess nutrition, excess macro nutrition in the body. So reducing the macronutrients through fasting, through caloric restriction, through sugar restriction is very important. Keeping toxins out of the body is also important. And then using nutrients in general for the liver, all the nutrients, but especially the fatty nutrients, because the liver is a fatty organ. So your fatty nutrients are your ultimate EFAs from longevity, and then also fatty vitamins, D, E, A, and K, and then all the plant-derived nutrients. So reducing toxicity, whether it's sugar or drugs, or do you guys hear that sugar is a toxin to the liver? So sugar, whether it's sugar or whether it's drugs, keeping calories down, and then making sure you're doing liver nutrients, especially the fats. Okay? Thank you. Yes.
And I think Elizabeth.
I think, yes, you had a question. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure how I want to actually phrase it, but you touched on breathing. Something I do, and it's not very common. I sigh, but my sighs are like almost sometimes when I'm home.
Yeah.
They sound like I'm singing, like really
How
high.
beautiful. Oh my God. Will you do one for us?
Weird. But it's scary.
Will you sing a song for us?
No, but it's just like so odd.
It could be some kind of blockage.
Really?
There could be something like mucus or something like that. Instead of the air coming out smoothly, it's coming out, it's vibrating. And that's what the pitch is. I'm just guessing. Do you have any issues with mucus, or you have any issues with congestion?
Every time I've gone to the doctor, nobody knows.
It could be a lot of things. It could be inflammation that's causing the air not to come out as smoothly as it could, local inflammation. But really, and what's your name?
Elizabeth.
It's a great question, Elizabeth. Because there are things like that will happen, and I'm on the radio and I take questions and I do presentations all the time. There's all these kind of weird things that the body does, and there's no explanation. So what do you do, right? How do I handle, singing when you sigh, right? What do you do? So, and I'm just teasing, but there's lots of little things that can happen. You go back to the triangle. Always go back to the triangle, because there's nothing that can go wrong in the body that doesn't start at the triangle. And you don't even need the triangle, because the adrenals and the thyroid will take care of themselves too. You do the digestive system, the blood sugar system. I want everybody to hear that. You don't need to solve the problem at the level of the fruit. You need to go to the root, and every fruit has a root. Do you understand? This simplifies everything. This simplifies everything if you're a patient and you're dealing with a health challenge. It simplifies everything if you're a caretaker and you're taking care of somebody who has a health challenge. And it simplifies everything if you're in business and you're doing longevity. You focus on the soil and the root, the digestive system and the blood sugar system, and if you want to go all out, the adrenal thyroid complex. But to simplify it, super simplify it, digestion and blood sugar. And that's why I asked you about mucus. Or it could be inflammation, but if it's mucus inflammation, and I'm guessing it has something to do with that, that's a sign that the body's immune system has been triggered, and the seat of immunity is in the digestive system. So, and if you have a digestive problem, you're going to have a blood sugar problem too. So and that's another thing I didn't say it clearly enough. I didn't really say it clearly, but I want to make sure you understand. If you have a digestive issue, it's going to become a blood sugar issue with enough time, and within years it will be a blood sugar issue. And if you have a blood sugar issue, you guaranteed have a digestive issue. They go together. That's why they're the triangle. Okay, so I don't know the exact answer, but I can tell you return back to the triangle. My guess would be mucus or inflammation. You sure you can't sing a song for us? No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, she had a question over there on the blue.
Yes.
Question. So while you're doing your fasting, say for instance you do a 3-day fast.
Yeah.
Should you be taking your supplements?
Great question. What's your name?
Yolanda.
Yolanda says, should I take my supplements? It's a great question. So when you're fasting, you're fasting from calories. There are no calories in micronutrients. So you can take all the micronutrients you want. If you happen to not take your micronutrients, and micronutrients are usually best taken with food for absorption. If you take a day or two off from your micronutrients and you're not eating, that's not the end of the world, but they're not going to disturb your fast. Okay. Yes.
Ben, you're a pharmacist.
Yes.
And you've mentioned on Coast to Coast, because that's where I listen to you a lot,
Okay.
that a pharmaceutical is designed to overwhelm your liver's response before it can have an effect in
Yes.
your system.
Yes.
Okay.
It's called first pass effect.
Right.
Yes.
What happens when you're taking multiple medications?
Yeah.
One medication can
Of course.
overwhelm your liver.
Of course.
What happens when
Of course. Of course. What's your name?
Rich.
So Rich said something interesting. He's telling how many of you guys heard me on Coast to Coast? You guys listen on Coast to Coast? Okay. So I do Coast. You guys know what Coast to Coast is? So I do that every 6 weeks. I do Coast to Coast in there, and we take questions. And one of the things I happen to talk about, Rich heard, is this idea that when you take a prescription drug, they have to dose it super high because your liver is clearing it out. The job of the liver is to get rid of the poison, right? Remember I said how drugs are poisons? The job of the liver is to get rid of the metoprolol or the Inderal, propranolol, or whatever drug. I don't even know what kind of drugs they have. You know, there's like 60,000 drugs out there. You know? So the job of the liver is to clear it out. So what drug companies and doctors have to do is they have to give you an extra dose. They have to give you extra poison to overwhelm what's called first pass effect. First pass effect is the idea that the liver will clear out the drug. You eat a drug, it goes into your bloodstream, goes through your liver gets rid of it. It clears it. Clears it. So
To help you on your journey.
you can't figure out how to turn that off. So yes, so the point is,
A square emoji, do you want to know more?
oh my. So, you know, one of these days that thing, you can't turn it off. It's going to be, one of these days you're not going to be able to turn it off. In fact, you may not be able to turn it off as far as we know. But Rich says, yes, first pass effect is when that, the liver will clear out the drug, so they have to give you extra high levels of drug. But your point is well taken. If you take extra drugs, you're taking extra high levels of lots of drugs. Which is why I said earlier, I kind of touched on it, I didn't really hit this. If you're on a prescription drug, and you're going to be on it the rest of your life, the number one challenge, health challenge you have is to get off that drug, to figure out how to get off. And by the way, you want to do it with your doctor. When you have a relationship with your doctor, you have a de facto agreement. It's not a contract, but it's like a verbal contract. There's a de facto agreement. You don't have to do what your doctor says. You can say, I don't want to do it, but you should at least tell him what you're doing and work with them. If you go to a doctor, you're in agreement with them, he's helping you. So when you're weaning yourself off your drugs, if you decide you want to get off your drugs, and I say that's what your health challenge should be, do it with your physician. Work with your physician, but make no mistake about it, with the exception of pain pills, which you do need for pain, and praise God for pain pills. I don't know if you ever had surgery. I remember when I had my knee surgery a few years ago, they wheeled me out of the operating room, and I remember this voice coming out of my head, and it was like this. It went, and I was like, it was a voice. It was coming out of my head, but it didn't seem like me. It was going, morphine, morphine, just like that. I'm like, who is that in my head? And I was not going, vitamin C, thiamine. I wasn't saying any of that. I was saying, give me the drugs now. And I say everybody should have pain pills in their medicine cabinet because you never know when you're going to need it. So, you know, modern medicine, I read a book on surgery in the Middle Ages. Do you know what surgery in the Middle Ages? When you had to have your breast removed or you had to have a pancreas problem or right? They had to hold you down while they carved, you know? So praise God for modern medicine, for pain pills, for anesthetics, for antibiotics, and obviously antibiotics have problems now. But as far as most of the drugs we take, which are chronic, drugs that we take chronically, for chronic long-term degenerative diseases, those are drugs you want to figure out how to get off of by taking care of your body.
Do they have an expiration date?
They do, but they're such powerful chemicals, it takes years and years and years for them to break down. Drugs are extremely purified. You know, the only food that is purified as a drug in the supermarket is what?
Twinkie.
No, that's not purified, but that's close. That's very complicated, a Twinkie. There's a really cool book called Twinkies Explained, if you want to read some good chemistry. So what is the only food in the supermarket that's as pure as a drug? Sugar. It's a drug. It's as pure as a drug, exactly. So yes, drugs are extremely purified. They do eventually get weaker, but the expiration date is usually years before. So if you have like aspirin or something in your medicine cabinet and it expired 10 years ago, more than likely it's still good, but it might be weaker. They break down, become weaker.
Well, I want to make sure everyone's questions are answered, but I do have a question. So why don't you take that lady over there and then...
You? Yes.
Is it okay for someone who has Hashimoto's to do a liver cleanse?
Yeah, what's Hashimoto's? Anybody know? Do you know what it is, right? Do you have it? Okay, they say. Okay, Hashimoto's is the technical name, the fancy diagnostic name for hypothyroidism that's caused by autoimmunity. The immune system is your body's defense system. And so when you have an autoimmune disease, it's very mysterious. Why is the body, the immune system, attacking itself? Well, I'll tell you what they want us to think, because your body's crazy. Your body's stupid. Your body doesn't know anything. Your body is just dumb. That's a dumb old body. I, on the other hand, am a doctor. I know how to handle this. That's how they want us to think. Body's not dumb. The body is attacking itself, whether it's the thyroid in Hashimoto's, or the nerves in multiple sclerosis, or the pancreas in type 1 diabetes, or connective tissue in lupus, or the skin in psoriasis. There's a zillion. There's 80 different autoimmune diseases, and there's probably 30 or 40 million people in America that have autoimmune diseases. So why is the body attacking itself? Well, what happens when you have an autoimmune disease, remember our triangle, right, you guys? Everything goes back to the triangle. When you have an autoimmune disease, some kind of toxin is getting into the bloodstream that is alerting the immune system. And if you have an autoimmune disease, they will actually test you for something called CICs. CIC stands for circulating immune complexes. And when you have an autoimmune disease, you have all these immune complexes in your blood. And these immune complexes are made up of immune cells and enemies. Where do enemies get into the bloodstream from? The small intestine. Everything gets into the bloodstream one of two ways. The small intestine, or you inject it. Which is why you want to be very careful about injecting things, and if any numbskull doctor tells you you better inject it so you don't catch a cold, you don't do it. Because when you inject things into your blood, you're putting the enemy into your blood. And by the way, I have a textbook at home that's this big. It's a textbook. It's not a lace, you can't get it in Barnes & Noble. It's a medical textbook called Vaccines and Autoimmunity. Because when you stick the enemy in your blood, you initiate an immune reaction. And when there's blood, these circulating immune complexes floating around in your blood and your body are very smart. They're not dumb, they're smart. And they do something that I used to do when I was a little kid, because I was kind of smart when I was a little kid. And my mom would say, clean your room. I was smart, but I was very sloppy. And so she would say, clean your room. And I had this surefire way to clean my room in like a minute flat. And my room could get pretty messy. And she'd say, clean your room. So I shut the door, I cleaned my room, and she'd come in 2 minutes later. What did you do? Well, of course, what did I do? I full for bed. I shoved everything under the bed. Everything, boom, took 2 minutes under the bed. And the room's spotless, clean, 2 minutes later, right? Well, the body does the same thing. It's got all this dirt, particles circulating the immune complex, basically dirt in the blood. It will shove it into soft tissue, into connective tissue. It will deposit it in your thyroid. It will deposit it in your kidneys and in your nerves and in your pancreas and in your joints and in the connective tissue and in the skin. And when the body deposits these toxins, these circulating immune complexes in your thyroid or in your nerves, it activates the immune system. The immune system sees all this dirt in the thyroid and it attacks the dirt. The body's not doing anything wrong. It's doing what it's supposed to do. They said, where does the dirt come from? The dirt comes from the intestine or injections, but for most of it, it comes from the intestine. Now with the thyroid, it's especially problematic. So, tell me your name?
Alex.
Alex. So, I am only a pharmacist. I'm not psychic, but I'm going to give you a psychic reading. You have had digestive problems for a long time. I feel them. I see them. I'm psychic. No, I'm not. It's just normal. It's just how it works. You guys can do the same thing. They're going to think you're a sorcerer. When you tell them you had digestive problems your whole life, you're going to say, you're constipated, right? How did you know? Oh, my God. Right? So, but here's where it gets really wonky with the thyroid. So your SIBO, leaky gut, stuff's getting into the immune system, into the blood system, it's activating the immune system, it goes to the thyroid. The thyroid regulates the digestive system. So you end up with this vicious downward spiral where the digestive problems cause thyroid problems, and the thyroid problems cause digestive problems, the digestive problems cause thyroid problems, but on and on and on and on. And really, there's blood sugar involved here, and there's adrenal issues here, and there's also obviously thyroid issues. So you get this downward spiral. The good news is you break it at the level of the digestive system. You start with the digestive system. For the thyroid, you'll notice immediate results because your digestive system will improving your digestive health will improve the thyroid health because of this connection, the thyroid-gut axis, they call it. So all the things you have to do with digestion, you guys, it all boils down to the triangle and the base of the triangle. So all the things with the digestive system, everything we just talked about, and is this video going to be available?
Yes.
So you can go back in the video, or you can call me. You guys, ben@ksco.com is my email. You can email me whenever you like. I'm dedicated to your success. I am 100% dedicated to your health success and your financial success. And that's why I'm here. You know, I talked to Debbie. I said, I want to have a bunch of people here. And the reason I came is because I'm dedicated to your success. Not just as a longevity person, but as a healthcare professional and just as a human being. I want you guys to be healthy, and I know you can be healthy. I've seen this happen so many times. I talked to you about Rebecca, and I talked to you about Debbie. You know how many times I've seen this? You know how many times I've seen skin cancer reverse itself, or diabetes disappear, or people get off all their drugs or lose weight? Thousands of times. So I'm dedicated to helping you achieve health success as well as financial success if you're doing the longevity business. I hope I answered your question.
Yes,
Thank
one
you.
more.
Okay, one more.
Right, please.
Yes.
Now, this problem with the thyroid, is that something that I could relate to getting severe anxiety if I'm under a lot of stress?
100%. And the stress is the adrenal glands. That's connected to the thyroid. So it goes both ways. Everything goes both ways. So while it's digestive system, blood sugar system, thyroid, adrenal thyroid, it goes adrenal thyroid digestive system too, and adrenal thyroid blood sugar system too. So they're all interconnected. But those are the only 3 points that you have to deal with, and really the only 2 points. If you want to just do the basics, it's the digestive system and the blood sugar system. Okay? Thank you, Alex. No?
You know, she kind of beat me to it, but one thing I would like to say that when you have a digestive system, it's really important to do a food log. I learned that in my own keto weight release.
Food diary.
And I also learned the value of the foods that way, so that's really important. And not only that, you know, I used to take things from GNC, Vitamin Shop, and all those other places, and that's what Dr. Weller calls cherry picking.
Yeah.
Well, when I lost my initial 50 pounds, I was dead tired with no energy, and I would go to bed at 8 o'clock. So this is becoming a little bit of testimonial for the Healthy Body Start Pack. Within 4 days, I had natural energy and started staying up to 10 without even blinking an eye. Later on, inflammation came down. I didn't tell you my whole story, but I've never been able to run my whole entire life. As a child, in high school, wherever, my mom always wrote notes. She can't run. And my whole thing is, I started easing into running when the inflammation locked down. And I got 5, 10, 15 minutes, up to 40 to 50 minutes, 4 to 5 days a week. And then my friend told me, you got to run outside with me. And she asked me to do a half marathon with her, and I did it. And I actually finished before she did. So I learned that the Healthy Body Start Pack is so valuable because it gave me natural energy and micronutrients, and whatever you're doing for a weight loss plan or even a lifestyle is so important because they kind of marry each other, and they fill up. What I say, our bodies are like Swiss cheese. There's holes in it. That micronutrient is filling those holes and making your body whole again.
That's awesome.
So that's my whole thing, why I am passionate about sharing, these products. And because for me, a lot of people yo-yo on weight loss, not me. I'm a size 2 to 4 sometimes, depending on the clothes. So I've been like this for 10 years. So it's doable, you guys. You just got to eat right, and you have to take your nutrients.
Thank you. That's great.
Dennis, thank you for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank
I hope
you.
you come back sometime.
Thank you. I will. And are we doing a raffle?
Yeah, we're going to do the raffle. We're going to bring Ben, and we're going to bring Bill up to B names.
Yeah, let me say one quick thing before we do the raffle, and if you got to use the restroom, I totally get it. It's been a while. My mind is blown
Awesome.
by what you presented. I want to start off by saying thank you to Debbie for bringing Dr. Ben in. I've never met Dr. Ben before, so I know some of you may already be familiar. Until he showed up at the doorway, I've never met you before. But I will say that as I watched you present, now I'm not clairvoyant, I don't really see energy, but in pranic healing they do teach us that you can see energy. And as you presented, I just saw this light around you, so I gotta say,
Praise
like
God.
the spiritual energy, the soul energy is truly strong.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And so that's awesome. I feel like, we might not know each other, but I feel like I've met a kindred spirit.
There's a bunch of us out here.
I like it.
Thank you. There's a bunch. You guys, you're in it too. There's a bunch of us. We're here to make a big difference.
We really
and
are.
take it on. Take it on. Really help your neighbors, help your friends. There's so much power here. So thank you for pointing that out. I really appreciate
Everything
that.
in here is like, this is the medical side of what I've found. And so I'm not, energy healing is not part of my background or upbringing. So pranic healing is my profession now. I just retired from the fire department. I was actually firefighter paramedic for 27 years. Wow. So like people say, oh, you're against medicine. No, I'm in healthcare. I use medicine. Pain medicine, I've seen pain medicine do some phenomenal things. But as far as emergency care, I was very proud of what I did in healthcare. As far as responding to chronic illness, I was bummed out because I realized that what I was doing, taking people to the ER with chronic illness, they weren't going to get fixed. What I found when I got into pranic healing is people were getting fixed. Energy, you talked about energy moving through the body. We work with energy through the body, the stress energy, the anxieties, the fears, the worries, all that stuff is energy. In pranic healing, we clean that out, and all of a sudden your body knows what to do. It's fantastic. Wow. To the point where I truly felt like, I loved the fire department. It was a rewarding career, but I loved what I was doing in pranic healing even more. So I took early retirement and left it behind, and now, honestly, it's one of the best moves I've ever made. Awesome. I love what I'm doing in pranic healing.
And the combination of the two of us can be very powerful for your body. Yes. So.
Oh yeah, like I said, energy is great, but if you don't have your nutrition figured out, you're not getting everything, and pranic healing doesn't deal so much with nutrition.
It's the energy. The nutrients work because they carry the energy. They carry the energy into the right chemical reactions.
I gotta say, now after listening to you, I'm gonna go check everything out. I already listed everything I know. Because if you can get both, then you got everything. You got the energy and the...
And so what's great about the products, it has cofactors for each other that creates this energy. And they're 98% bioavailable. So that's the whole thing, is that the stuff that you buy from GNC and Vitamin Shop and other places out there are not just as complete as this product is. I mean, that's what I experienced.
I know when most of you came in, we had a little raffle set up. Dr. Ben bought 5 different products along.
Pharmacist Ben.
Pharmacist Ben.
Yes, I'm a pharmacist.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I don't want to mislead anybody. I'm a pharmacist.
Pharmacist Ben. I thought I saw Dr. Ben somewhere on the website.
Maybe.
Anyway, okay, I apologize. Pharmacist Ben brought 5 products along, so we're going to, in addition to what we had earlier, we're going to pick 5 other tickets for those things that we'd like to also include as the handouts for that. If you, I don't know if you want to mill about and go to the bathroom quick, we're going to give you a chance if you want to buy any more tickets over the next few minutes, and then we'll go ahead and pick those out so you can draw. The last thing I included, so I also, in addition to care packages and Pharmacist Ben products, I included pranic healing sessions as 2 of the drawings. Since I'm doing that now, and I've had people just have some phenomenal results, I want to include 2 pranic healing sessions as our handouts. And so those are something that I'm hoping that you'll enjoy. And also, thank you all for being here.
Thank you, everybody.
I appreciate you coming
I want the coaches to come up here. I know that you're a coach.
Yes.
And, we have a budding new coach up back there who could just stand up if she wants to. She's a coach underneath me, Letty. And Becca should come down here too. Stand up again. There you go. Any other coaches that we have? Okay. And then we have your coach. Come up here.
Yeah.
Rebecca.
And
Rebecca.
Okay. If you're even in the course.
Rebecca.
I haven't started the course.
But anyway, let's start.
Thank you so much.
I do help people, get healthier. And
Thank you, sir.
the course has really taught us a lot. And we can also coach.
Great to meet you. What's your name?
Rob. Becca. My coach, I guess.
You're in good hands.
Good job.
Hey.
That was awesome.
What? Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, I want to go in. Are you leaving?
Yeah.
What's your health question?
If I'm like focused on raw plant food and food,
Yeah.
should there be any like meat or no?
You have to see how your body does.
Okay.
But raw plant food sometimes gets the minerals and the nutrients are locked up.
Okay.
So maybe crush it or heat it a
blend it.
little bit.
I
Blend it.
saw
Oh yeah,
smoothie.
blend. Oh yeah, blend it. Oh yeah, blending's good. Blending's good. I'm looking this in some protein, but you have to see how you do. Everybody's different.
I do a Marcus Rosecrans protein.
Oh yeah, you do a protein powder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might help. How do you feel?
I've never had so much energy in my time.
You're fine. Go by yourself, not by me. Go by you.
Yeah. The egg thing, I don't know.
The eggs? I didn't talk about eggs. I
Well,
forgot.
looking at it, you seem very.
They should. Eggs are the perfect food.
Yeah. I'm excited by that.
Okay,
Because I love eggs, but I stopped eating them because of China's.
Not everybody can. Not everybody can eat eggs. So you have to see how you do.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Sure, thank you.
You look at the 4 areas of health, the triangle of disease, the square of nutrition, 4 areas of health. And then you apply the nutrition. The body can do some amazing things. The products don't. But the body itself can do some amazing things. And the best part about our program, we teach you about those nutrition deficiencies and what you can do to help somebody overcome them. And then it's ongoing support. You're not left out on your own. We have weekly trainings that you can plug into. You've got questions. We have coaches chat that are on fire with questions for 24 hours a day because we are international. We have people in Australia, South America, the United Kingdom, Bahrain, Dubai, the United States, Mexico, Canada. We're around the world, and that's got to say something. When people around the world are taking the same information, putting it into their bodies and into their communities, together we're making a healthier world. Yes. So we definitely encourage you to get with the person that invited you to this event and say, hey, I want some more information about the Certified Holistic Health Coach course that's offered by the Holistic Health. I am the Director of Student Services, so if you have any questions or the person that invited you, they don't have all the information to answer your questions, feel free to get in contact with myself or Debbie or Teresa or Leslie, and we'll help you get those answers.
Yeah, and the distributors of longevity, if you brought people here, please, your clients go to you,
Yes.
For products and things like that. So I just want you to know, don't feel like we're going to do anything. You need to support your clients, okay? And, but I have found that I have learned so much over the years, and also the coach, the program actually solidified everything. And it's made me a more confident, more dynamic person, that I even have my own radio and TV show now. And then with my first, actually my first introduction of myself, Ben did my second, show, and I'm sure he'll come back again to my show.
I will.
Next time. And my next show is going to be with Dr. Laura Dennison next week on autophagy, which is
Autophagy.
yeah, okay, that's what we're doing. So that's what she's going to cover. And intermittent fasting is part of cleaning out your cells. It has garbage in it, so it needs to clean out your cells. So you're going to learn a lot, from Ben or from Dr. Laura Dennison as well. So I'm going to have different guests from time to time. And I actually had a cancer doula last week. And you can find all these episodes, on my channel. Eventually they're going to be all on my Debi Changes Lives YouTube, but they're also at WN.com. And you just search for Debi Changes Lives. It's the name of my show, which is also the name of my branded company. So if you guys have any questions for us, just let us know. And we're going to do the raffle now, right?
Ready to do the raffle?
Woo!